right, we are live. Let me get my setup going here. All right. We are good to go. All right, 2 people on the live. What's going on? All right. I think YouTube is a little bit slow today. What is Brooklyn? CLF Reptiles. What's going on? Brooklyn, a huge fan. Thank you. Nice. I'm doing good. Not too bad. Just kind of hanging out here in the snake room with Bobby. What is going on? 11 people. All right. All right. Lupita, hi. I was waiting for this. Nice. Yeah, I was a little bit late today. I found out my laptop and my phone was both low on power, so I had to hook up all my power cords to plug it all in. So my laptop and my phone, they actually don't last the full 3 hours when I'm doing this. Hello, Mad. What is up? Claude 1234. Any more side effects from the vaccine? I'm actually doing better today. I think yesterday and the day before were the worst days for the vaccine. So today is a lot better than it was before. So not too bad today. Pretty much all my dizziness and all my vertigo went away. So that's pretty good. What is up, DP Grec A? I wish I had 2 snakes because I have 1. Nice. All right, Bobby, what are you doing? Bobby's starting to choke me out here. All right, DE Reptiles. Hello from Texas, all the way down in Texas. Wow. Kyle Larry, yes, we've finally been waiting for you. Yes. Yeah, I was a little bit late today, just a little bit behind schedule. Let's see. Daniel Kenway, your videos inspired me to get into Ball Python breeding. That's awesome. Let's see. I've been having to pick up this import I got with a towel because she'll bite me every time I open the tub. That is pretty funny. Yeah, sometimes those ball pythons can be a little finicky, but you can tame them down pretty easy in most cases. Saul's Balls, what is up? Wizzy 818. Any recommended breeders you recommend, and who do you buy from? So I don't really go per breeder, so technically I pretty much buy from anyone that's over on Morph Market. And a lot of times some of the stuff I'm looking for, you know, a lot of kind of the recent stuff I'm looking for more of a high-end snake, like a, as a matter of fact, probably be in the market for like a Confusion for my next snake. And I'll pretty much go on the price point and, you know, the cheapest, best Confusion that I can find. Sometimes I actually kind of step it up a little bit and go for, you know, the best looking snake. A lot of times I'll do that, like with what I did with Bobby. But a lot of times I don't really care who the breeder is over on Morph Market. A lot of times I'll actually look at the reviews just to kind of double check. All right, Ryan Earl, how many clutches are you expecting? Are you going to the 2 shows in May? So I'm actually going to the Pueblo Reptile Expo in Pueblo, Colorado on May 15th. I'll be going there. And then on May 16th, I'm actually going to the motorcycle ride in Fountain, Colorado. So that's where I'll be. And how many clutches are you expecting? As a matter of fact, I'm going through my whole collection, changing out all my substrate, and it looks like I'll have a pretty good year. The only bummer is I don't think my pied female is going to lay, and I don't think my Desert Ghost female is going to lay, which is really frustrating. It's been years since those have really produced. And probably the total number of clutches here, I'd say maybe about 13 or 14 at least. About 13 or 14 clutches, so I should have a pretty good year this year. G Jackson, hello from Dallas, Texas. Wow. Rula's Maze, hey, love your videos. Get bitten just to show how much it hurts. Yeah. So I actually don't have any snakes here in my collection that'll actually bite me. Lupita, can you tickle Bobby's belly? Bobby's not really that ticklish. If I tickle him on the belly, not really. He doesn't really mind if I tickle him on the belly or not. He's pretty mellow. I can pretty much do anything with Bobby. He doesn't really mind. Ram 2500 Cummins, what's going on? Edwin Baker, you going to be at Repticon in Oklahoma City? Nope. Probably won't make it out of Colorado this year. Might do some more shows around Colorado, but I probably won't make it to any other shows. I just roll RC. What is going on? Eddie, bro, you must not have a family. I don't really have much of a life other than my animals and YouTube. Yeah, just trying to build my YouTube channel and my collection here. Don't really have a lot of other stuff going on, so yeah. Claude1234, do you have any more cowboy tricks you will share in the future? Definitely. I have more cowboy tricks. Stay tuned for those. I don't want to do too many cowboy tricks because I really don't want to turn it into like a cowboy trick channel, but I keep mixing it up here and there. I might do like one video a week that's a little different than completely different than snakes and kind of mix it up that way. Saul's Balls, are there any marks for het pied other than the black lines near the vent? So I've actually seen on some het pieds, in some cases, you actually see like a pattern disruption on the side of the snake. Sometimes it's just right along the belly. Sometimes it comes all the way up to where you get kind of a jumbled up pattern from some of the het pieds. So you can actually look at the black lines along the belly, and you can look for more of a jumbled up pattern, but it's not always 100%. I'd say if you're actually seeing lines, really strong het pied markers on the belly, I'd say that's pretty much 100% as far as knowing you have het pied in that snake. Gary Lynn, do you have any puzzle? No puzzle in my collection. William, hi, what is going on? I'm going to get a puzzle mail once I sell my hatchlings. Nice. So yeah, I'm thinking about doing maybe confusion this year, like a confusion, acid, or static, one of those genes, probably this year after I sell some hatchlings. Maybe next year, maybe I'll get into the puzzle projects. As a matter of fact, what would be really cool is to get a puzzle female. And once I work my triple hets, if I actually could hit the albino pied clown visual and breed that to a puzzle and get quadruple hets with a puzzle in that, that is probably one of the things that I'll go for with that project. That'd be pretty awesome. Of course, that's like, that'll probably take the rest of my life to actually hit the quad visual on that one, which is kind of crazy. Let's see. D Music, thinking about making a trip to the next Colorado Expo just to see your snakes. When is the next expo? So yeah, so I'm actually going to the Pueblo, Colorado Reptile Expo here in about 4 weeks. I think it's 4 weeks. It's May 15th, 2, 3, yeah, 4 weeks. I can't believe it's only 4 weeks away. I'm actually going to ride my motorcycle down there for that one. And then the following day, I'll do a motorcycle ride. It's the motorcycle ride in Fountain, Colorado, but I'm not going to actually bring any snakes. And I probably won't sell any of my ball pythons at any of the expos. I'll probably just kind of show up to the expos. I sell so many on Morph Market that I don't really have enough to show at any show anymore, which is kind of crazy. All right, Kyle Larry, I had a baby bumblebee from LLC Reptiles and she died in a few days. Oh, that's a bummer. So yeah, so sometimes if you have like a brand new hatchling or something and it passes away, if you contact the seller, sometimes I'm betting they could replace that for you after just a few days. It seems kind of odd that it would die in a few days. Or what you could actually do is a lot of times if you ship it, there's insurance on the shipping. I don't know how long the shipping insurance actually last for, but I'd check into that too. All right, is that the only snake you have that is not camera shy? I actually have Bubble. I pull out Bubble, my pinstripe female, and that one is pretty much just as tame as Bobby here. I'll bring that one out. Pretty much, I usually hold Bobby here for about an hour, and then I'll pull out Bubble for about an hour and kind of switch back and forth. Those are pretty much my two tamest snakes as far as just kind of hanging out on my shoulder without freaking out. Let's see. Luke's Morphs. Do you stop feeding when you put your snakes together or just wait about 3 days? So what I do is I put the males with the females when I first start breeding. I'll put them together for about 3 days. And then usually what I'll do is I'll cycle that male through multiple snakes. And then after I go through several females, I'll separate them and then feed everyone. That's a really good time to feed them. As a matter of fact, usually when you first start pairing up your snakes, a lot of times the females will actually increase their feeding. That's the perfect time to feed them. And I'd say maybe after about 2 or 3 months, most of them will go off food, and you'll go pretty much all the way up to maybe about 4 months. You'll still have some females eating. And then after 5 months, if you still have, if you're pairing up your males and females for like 5 months and the females are still eating, more than likely those females won't actually lay any eggs, and it'll be kind of a bust season for those females. Gary Lynn, how long have you done this? Good question. So this is actually my 6th year breeding ball pythons, which is kind of crazy. Let's see. Heather Rush, hello, I'm new here. Just wanted to say thank you. You rock. Thanks. Thank you for that comment. Edwin Baker, I want a bamboo from Bobby. Yeah, so I actually took Bobby and I actually held back a lot of his offspring. So I pretty much have the same bamboo line that I'm breeding through my collection. They all came from Bobby. And this year I'll probably have, I'm thinking maybe about 15 or 20 just straight bamboos. And hopefully I'll have some more bamboo combinations from the same line from Bobby. So I should have quite a few. As a matter of fact, I was actually looking back at some of my records from last year, and it looks like my first egg should show up about early May. So just in a few weeks, I should be getting a lot of eggs from my ball pythons. I have a lot of females that look like they're all gonna lay eggs, which is kind of crazy. All right, Matthew, what male should I get to pair to a pastel mahogany Huffman female? Good question. Let's see, mahogany. So mahogany is a dark gene, and the pastel and the mahogany, that looks really good together because you can't get a lot of the bright yellows coming out on like a darker, almost like a coppery colored background. What I would actually do is I would add another dark gene to that combination, maybe add leopard to the mix. That would be pretty awesome. Or you could do something like blackhead, although I think blackhead, if you get blackhead with mahogany, it might be too super dark, almost too dark in that combination. Depends on the look you're going for. Another thing you can do with any of your dark genes, you can mix them in with Ghost, the recessive Ghost gene, and get some almost like a steel gray snake, which is one of my favorite combinations. Let's see. What branch of military were you in? Yes, so I was in the Army, the U.S. Army, 101st Airborne. I was actually in for 4 years, and I spent a year in Korea back in the 80s. I kind of date myself. It was a long time ago. I was actually in Korea before they even had cell phones and computers. It was a long time ago. All right, Claude1234, how many hours a day do you work editing videos, snakes, cows? I pretty much work around the clock, pretty much 24/7 right now. So yeah, I'm hoping to get my YouTube channel to where it gets big enough to where I'm making a lot of money on my YouTube channel, and then I won't actually have to do a lot of the other stuff to kind of support me. So I'm kind of focusing, kind of hoping my YouTube channel really takes off at some point to where I can cut back from the real vigorous daily grind and kind of cut back on everything and do some other fun stuff, which would be kind of cool. I'm thinking about maybe doing some traveling around to different reptile shows in the United States, which would be kind of neat, but not really at that point right now. BR Wildlife Studio, hi from Indiana. What is going on? Isaac, what would be the best female for my super pastel male? So super pastel, pretty much anything goes good with super pastel. What I would actually do, I would actually get another super pastel combination, and then all your offspring would be super pastels, which would be pretty awesome. Annie G, if you had a pastel, what would you pair it up with? A clown or another pastel? Good question. So if you actually take a pastel, bred it to another pastel, 25% of the time you'd make the super pastel, which is one of my favorites. But if you're looking at like a project that'll bring in more money, I would say the clown definitely would be the winner. And if you work pastel or super pastel in the clowns, it can be a pretty amazing combination. I would probably go with the clown over the super pastel on that one. Let's see. In a puzzle project, spot nose pastel puzzle. Yes, that'd be pretty awesome. All right, Luke's more. So I got 2 snakes. I was told maybe het. They all got their tags mixed up, and I didn't remember what they could be. Het 4, any way to tell? That's a bummer. Yeah, so if you have a snake and you lose the tags and you don't know what they're het for, it's pretty much impossible to figure it out. If you know, if for example, if you actually had one that you're thinking, you know, it could be het clown or het puzzle or het pied or something like that, and if you actually could narrow it down to one of several, potentially you could breed it back to a visual and see if you can actually hit it. But if you mix up the tags, it's pretty much impossible. The only one you can actually see a little bit, sometimes you can see the het pied markers on the belly of the snake, but I'd say in most cases you can't see anything. Hello, man. Can I start pairing my snakes right now? You actually can pair your snakes pretty much anytime. You can pretty much breed snakes year round, but what most people do is they pair up like in anywhere like in October or November to kind of be with the rest of the people that are breeding ball pythons. All right, Xbox Lintarian. Have you had any clutches this year yet? No, I haven't had any clutches. No eggs this year either, which is kind of crazy. So my eggs, I have quite a few females. Should be dropping eggs here pretty soon. Let's see. I have a pewter male. I'm looking for bamboo or ghost. Nice. Lyndon, can you breed without an ultrasound? You definitely can breed without an ultrasound. As a matter of fact, I don't really use my ultrasound that much. Some guys that are breeding year round, if you're breeding for maximum productivity, you're breeding your snakes year round. Yeah, I would say an ultrasound can actually increase your productivity. What I do is I just start pairing up my males and my females mid-October, and then about 5 months later, I stop pairing them, and then just kind of hope for the best on that. And I don't really use my ultrasound at all anymore, which is kind of crazy. Let's see. Are all your pythons dwarfs? So for ball pythons, they don't really have a dwarf ball python. So all of them pretty much get to the same size. I have a couple that I think are different localities of ball pythons. I think they may be voltas that get a little bit bigger, but other than that, they're pretty much just all regular ball pythons. Although my reticulated pythons are dwarfs, both of them. So they both have dwarf blood in those. Could you do a video about the peach ball python? So I was actually looking up the peach. I think there are only a couple examples of the peach ball python. I can actually look it up over here on Morpho. I couldn't find a whole lot. Let's see. Let me let me just jump over to more markets. Just um, some of these, if there's not a whole lot of examples of a gene, I don't really do a morph review. So there's actually only two examples of the peach over here on Morph Market. One's a peach ivory, and the ivory is going to completely eliminate all the effects of the peach. And the other one is a fire peach, but it's kind of hard to do a video just on one example of the combination if you don't mix it with a lot of the other ones. So, you know, some of those that are still new that haven't really shown a lot of potential as far as the pictures, sometimes it's pretty tough to do those. All right, Icon Vlogs, what is up? What male should I get to pair to my lesser female? Best pair for my lesser. So if I had a lesser female, so what you probably, what I would actually do is go for like a blue-eyed leucistic. So you could take like a lesser Mojave and breed it to that. You'd actually get a combination of super lessers and lesser Mojaves. Or what you could do, you could use pretty much any blue-eyed leucistic. As a matter of fact, what you could do is you could do something like, what would be really neat is if you did like a purple passion or a mystic potion. For example, you can actually take the combination of the mystic and the Mojave, which is kind of a purplish colored blue-eyed leucistic, and then breed it to that, and then you would actually end up with well, I guess that would be good because you get the lesser Mojave, which would be all white, and you get the lesser Mystic, which would be all white too. I was thinking if you could make some purple snakes out of that, but you can't do that. But that'd probably be the best thing as far as the best return on investment is to get like a blue-eyed leucistic and breed it to that lesser. All right, Ernesto, what do you think are the best clown mixes? So clown, I really like pastel with clown. Seems like that's the number one thing that really makes the clown really pop. I like a lot of the pattern enhancing combinations too. For example, like the leopard and the spot nose in with the clown too. That's pretty awesome. Let's see. All right, let's see. What would be an awesome morph to pair with a pastel? So pastel works pretty much well with just about anything. So if you have a pastel, I mean, that's why I think the pastel is like the number one gene in all of ball pythons. You can pretty much mix it with just about anything and you'll make some really amazing combinations. Jay Dubia, what's up? Do you rotate handling your snakes or do you have too many? So what I actually do is, for example, if I'm cleaning a snake tub, I'll take the snake and I'll put it around my neck and then I'll clean the tub. And that really gives the snake some time to kind of get to know me, and it really kind of calms down the snake too. So I pretty much only handle when I'm cleaning or spot cleaning or something like that. Or sometimes if I'm like adding like humidity, if I take the sprinkling can and go through the tub, if the snake is still in there, a lot of times if I hit the snake with that water, it kind of jumps and hisses and freaks out. But if I take the snake and put it around my neck, then it calms down the snake and I can go in there and add the moisture and kind of spot clean and everything like that. So I'd say I pretty much handle my snakes probably every single one at least 2 or 3 times a week, I'd say, except for my females. If my females are really gravid and full of eggs, I try not to move them or touch them at all when they're sitting on when they actually look like they're going to lay some eggs. All right, let's see. I am about 20 comments behind. All right, I'll slowly get to everyone's here. Mr. Cluckins, what is up? King 773 Q Money, watching your channel got me buying ball pythons. All right. I need one from you. Yeah, so I should have, so I'm thinking maybe in the next two weeks, maybe. Let me take a look at this. So 2 weeks will be May 1st. I was actually looking back at my last breeding schedule. Let me pull it up here on my laptop, my snake breeding log, and I'll look back at last year, what my very first clutch of 2020 results. My first clutch last year was on the 2nd of May. So I'm thinking within 2 weeks, I should get some more some of my first eggs. So then after that, I'd say it's 2 months before they hatch, and then at least a couple weeks before I get enough rodents into them before I have them for sale. So I'm thinking maybe about 3 months still before I'll have some snakes. All right, D Music. I have a butterbee cinnamon female. What would you breed with her? I'm getting ready to buy a male and can't decide. Too many options. There are a lot of options. Sometimes it's almost overwhelming because there's so many different options. So you actually have butterbee cinnamons. So the butterbees are kind of interesting with certain combinations of the butter and the spider. You can almost have like an axanthic look to them. And then you add in the cinnamon, which is kind of interesting. So you can actually go for like a cinnamon black pastel and do the 8 balls, which is like a completely black and patternless snake. That would be pretty cool. And then of course with the spider, what I would do with the spider is I'd probably add like calico, which is one of my favorite combinations with the spider. And then you can add some brightening genes with the spider, like the pastel, the orange dream, the fire, and the yellow belly. Really makes a spider really pop if you get that combination. But yeah, there's a lot of different things you can do. Let's see. You should do a separate channel for live streams. Brian was saying doing lives messes with the algorithm. Yes, it does. Yes, it actually does mess with the algorithm. YouTube does not like me doing live streams, which is pretty interesting. I pretty much have been ignoring the algorithm and I put everything on one channel. The problem is if you separate it into different channels, I don't know if that's really good either. So if I started a new channel, let me tell you, there would not be 60 people right now on my live stream, and I wouldn't have this many comments. I think it'd be kind of hard starting a new channel from scratch. But yeah, if you actually look at the statistics, as far as like my views have gone way down since I started doing the live streams. And it seems like YouTube doesn't really promote the live streams as much as it promotes all of my other videos for some strange reason. But it seems like the super chats make up for it in the long run, so it kind of balances out. I don't know, either way. Let's see. Snakes Gaming. What makes a peach ball python? So the peach is actually a gene. You can go to Morph Market and do a search for peach. It's kind of a rare gene. Just a couple examples over there. What would you breed? A pastel inchy pied het candy other than for a candy? Pastel inchy pied. So yeah, so the inchy pied is going to be a low white pied, and then you add pastel in there. It can kind of give you a lot of pixelation in with there. So you could do pretty much any type of a pied, or you could go for it almost looks like someone was trying to go for the candy pied on that one. If you actually hit the candy pied, it would be a really expensive combination. The candy pied sell for quite a bit. But you could do pretty much any other pied mixed with that, or a het pied. You could go with like a het pied with a whole bunch of other genes, and then you would actually get 50% of the time you would get visual pieds, which would be pretty awesome. Or what I would do is I'd do something that's like het pied and het candy, and then with a bunch of other genes in there if you can find one, and then make potentially some candy pied with other genes in there. That'd be pretty awesome too. Snakes Gaming. Hi, what's up? All right, let's see. Joey. I started breeding and I was wondering where I could sell them. So you can actually sell them over on morphmarket.com. You could sell them on kingsnake.com. You could try to sell them on Craigslist, and you could sell them to your local reptile stores. A lot of the reptile stores. As a matter of fact, if you actually go to the reptile stores, I'd say a lot of times they'll give you like half of the price that they're worth. Or a lot of times they'll give you 100% of the price that they're worth in store credit. And you can kind of go on a shopping spree in your reptile store. Just, give them a bunch of snakes, and then you have all that store credit, and then just go on a shopping spree. I've done that before, which is kind of fun. Let's see. Ryan Earl, Chris PME wants you like to travel to other shows. Can help extremely reduce travel prices. Nice. So yeah, I was thinking of actually, I'm not sure if I'm going to fly to other shows or if I'm going to drive. I might actually do some driving and just go from show to show. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do as far as that. Still in the future on that. I'm not sure. All right, King773Q Money. Do you have any albinos? Yes, I do have. So I actually have an albino pied that I'm breeding to a female albino het pied, and I'm also breeding it to another female albino. And I don't think my female albino is going to lay eggs this year, but I was looking at my female albino het pied, and she looks like she might actually be developing some eggs. So maybe I'll get some albinos, maybe some albino pieds this year, which would be pretty awesome. As a matter of fact, I did that pairing once before. I got one albino pied out of the whole clutch. I mean, the odds are supposed to be like 50%, and I only hit one of them, which is kind of crazy. All right, Meatball. How often should I hold my 3-month-old Ball Python? That is the question of the year. I've heard so many people say, don't hold your Ball Python that much because it stresses them out. And if you actually look at Bobby around my neck, I actually handle Bobby for at least an hour every single day. And then in the live streams, I handle them for sometimes, like an hour, hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours on the live stream, and he is completely fine just hanging out on my shoulder. I don't think he can handle a ball python too much. So if you actually hold a ball python and it starts kind of freaking out after like maybe about half an hour, 45 minutes, I'll definitely put that back in the enclosure. But it seems like the more you handle the ball python, the more it just kind of likes to really hang out on your shoulders. But a lot of people would disagree with me and then say, a lot of people would say, whatever you do, don't hold your Boll Python that much, which is kind of an interesting perspective. All right, Heather Rush, cool morphs with a female blade. So blade's kind of interesting because when I first started in ball pythons, I was convinced that blade was the same thing as enchi. And come to find out, they're two completely different genes. They almost act similar, although a lot of people, it's kind of interesting, a lot of people associate the blade with the clown. A lot of times when you hear blade, they're talking about the blade clown. And the blade acts a little bit different than the enchi when you mix it in with other combinations. And you can actually make a super blade too. So essentially what it is, it's a pattern reducing gene that tends to bring a lot of the pattern more to the top of the snake with the blade, versus the enchi doesn't really bring it up to the top as much as it does with the blade. And it seems like the standalone blade, a lot of times you'll have more of a striped pattern on the side of the snake, versus enchi can be a little bit scrambled up too. So pretty much anything you can do with enchi, you can do with blade. Although the blade a lot of times doesn't really bring in the colors that you would see with the enchi. So it's a good pattern reducing gene. I'd say it works pretty well with just about any other gene. Let's see. Axel, is it okay to give a rat you defrosted the day before? So when I defrost, if I'm actually going to defrost one day and then keep it for the next day, you can actually keep it in the refrigerator. Sometimes that works. I wouldn't keep it at room temperature though for that long. Or if you actually, completely thawed it out and you heated it up, I probably wouldn't reuse it. I wouldn't keep it until the next day as far as that's concerned. All right, what do you think about the Volta? Has any attempted to breed for size in ball pythons? So I actually do have a female lemon blast here in my collection. I think maybe some of my het caramels. Some people say they may be Voltas, the bigger locality of a ball python, but I don't really selectively breed for the bigger ball pythons. I just kind of mix them all together. I'm not really selectively breeding for larger or smaller ball pythons. I say pretty much any ball python is handleable. It's a pretty good size. So I don't think a lot of people really do that as far as specifically kind of isolating it. All right, Ken Campbell. Hi, Chris. I got my blue-eyed Lucy about a month ago. I'm feeding once a week. One rat pup, do you think would be okay to feed twice a week? Or should I just keep going once a week? You can do twice a week. Depends on the size of the rodent and the size of the snake. But I'd say in most cases, you actually can increase to 2 per week as long as it's not a really super big rodent. So you should be fine doing twice a week. So it really depends on the size. I'd say for hatchlings and, you know, anything up to maybe about 200, 300 grams, you definitely can do twice a week on your feeding. Let's see. What is one of the cheapest morphs that are under 400 that's not a normal? So I actually did quite a few videos on the best genes under 100, the best genes under 200. I think all the way up. I think I do have a video on the best genes under 400. So there's quite a few you can actually choose from as far as looking at under 400. So you could probably get under 400, you could get like Mojaves, Lessers, you could probably get like a GHI, anything like that. Bamboo, I don't know, sometimes you can actually pick up bamboos that cheap, sometimes they're kind of right on the edge of 400. I've actually seen bamboos go up to like 500 too. So there's quite a few things you can actually do under 400. All right, Lily Ann, when starting a ball python breeding business, would you start an LLC or S corporation? That's a good question. I actually set up like a sole proprietor as far as my breeding operation, but I'd say most people do LLCs. If you do an S corporation, I think it's a little bit more complicated with an S corporation. I think you may have to have like, I probably wouldn't do a corporation. I don't know anyone that's actually done like an S corporation or anything like that with ball pythons. All right, Andrew, why is there no Voltas on Morph Market here in the States? Do you know where to find any? So that's a good question. I'm not sure where you can actually get Voltas, and I'm thinking maybe people are selling them and not really saying that they're Voltas. Sometimes if you actually look at the really big ball pythons, like if you actually found like a 6,000 gram snake over on Morph Market, you can almost be sure that it's a Volta. Usually only the Voltas get that big. Robert Bailey, a channel member. Hey, what's up? Hey, Chris and Bobby, how's it going? Feeling better? Yes, I am definitely feeling better. Still a little bit under the weather from my COVID vaccine that I got 7 days ago. It's been 7 days. I can definitely feel it. Not as bad as it's been in the last 2 days. I'm on the recovery though. Let's see. Icon Vlogs. I got a lot of my friends in shock that they did not believe that you visited my live stream. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I visited his live stream yesterday. That was pretty fun. Yeah. Yeah, I try. So I'm actually subscribed to like almost 800 channels now. And if you actually go to the homepage on my desktop, all the live streams come to the very top. So I can see that where everyone is doing a live stream, I can just click on it and join the live stream. And I'm actually surprised how few people do live streams. Not a whole lot of live streams that people are doing, which is kind of crazy. All right, Leah, when did you get your first ever snake? So my first snake was actually a banana phase California king snake. And I actually started in a whole bunch of just kind of a whole bunch of variety of snakes when I first started in snakes. I actually didn't kind of switch to ball pythons until about a year later. And I had like Arizona mountain king snakes. I had I had the desert phase king snakes, the banana phase California king snakes. I had had an Australian Woma python. And then I kind of found out the whole thing about ball pythons. I pretty much sold all my other snakes and got all ball pythons. Pretty much switched completely, except a couple of articulated pythons. Let's see. Gary Lynn, do you sell adults? Very rarely will I sell an adult ball python. Uh, Usually if I have like too many of one specific thing. As a matter of fact, I just sold some almost adult scaleless head females was pretty much the last time I sold some adults. But I'd say usually it's pretty rare. But I would say maybe once I grow up some more males and kind of replace some of my other males. So for example, I actually have a holdback from last year, which is it's a bamboo pastel pinstripe calico, which will eventually replace my bamboo calico. So at some point I'll be selling that one. Probably not next year, maybe the following year. But you know, every now and then I will sell some adults. All right, Tarantula Nirvana. My ball python is going into 6th month of not eating. He's lost many grams. I'm going to take him to the vet next week for an assisted tube feeding. Yeah, so I would say most people don't assist feed. I've never really heard of anyone assist feeding an adult ball python. What you can actually try, I would probably try like a live jumbo adult mouse and leave it in there for, you can actually supervise it, maybe leave it in there for like half an hour or something like that. But let me tell you, 6 months without eating is pretty typical. I've had snakes even go longer than that, and it's not really that big of a deal. I'm surprised a vet would actually do an assist feeding to an adult. Usually you don't do any kind of assist feeding for an adult ball python. Let's see. Let's see. All right. So we got some. Let's see. 60 watching, only 20 likes. 29 likes now. All right, I'm kind of behind in the comments. All right, subscribe. Yes, don't forget to hit that bell. Yeah, I usually don't say that. But thank you for saying that in the comments. All right, Rick. Hey there. I have an Orange Dream Calico Fire male and an Orange Dream female. What do you think with this combination? So that's a pretty good combination. You can actually go to one of the genetic wizards and figure out what you're actually going to get for that. So you would get the Super Orange Dreams, which are pretty awesome, with the calico and the fire in there, which is a really awesome combination. Ashley, what is going on? William, I feel like I see a lot more visual ghosts for sale than visual desert ghosts. Why do you think that is? I think the ghost has been around a lot longer, and it seems like the price for the ghosts are really a lot lower than the desert ghost. So it's an easier project to get into as far as investing into that project. And it seems like desert ghost may be actually increasing in price because a lot of people are really kind of talking up the desert ghost, which kind of increases the price and kind of dries up the supply too. All right, Hector Sanchez, what is up? Ashley, what's up? Let's see. Snake Eyes. They have some incredible blood pythons for sale on Morph Market. Not cheap for your average person. I've actually seen some really big blood pythons that get really super big, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, so you can actually, I've actually seen some pretty amazing ones at some of the reptile shows too. Jordy Hahn, how much does a female gain weight in the breeding season? So it really depends if that female is going to lay eggs or not. So you figure a hatchling ball python maybe weighs anywhere from maybe 50 to 100 grams. So if you actually figure like maybe like 100 grams per egg and it has 6 eggs inside, I'd say that's like 600 grams. As a matter of fact, you can actually have a ball python that can lay like 15 eggs. And if every egg weighs 100 grams, that's like anywhere, I'd say probably anywhere from like 1,000 to 1,500 grams just in the eggs. that a really big female could potentially build right before her legs. And a lot of times I'll actually kind of show off my really big females when they're full of eggs. I'm like, hey, check this out. This is like a, 5,500 gram female. And it's because she's completely full of like, 800 grams of egg in that female. But if you get a female that's not going to lay, a lot of times they'll lose weight during the breeding season. Then they'll get skinnier and skinnier because they're going along fast, which is another thing too. All right, Scott. Hey there. Glad you're feeling better. Thanks for the service. Thor says hello. 1,400 grams. Wow, that's crazy. Spitting image of Bobby in every way. Stay safe from Helena. Thank you. Yes. Glad Thor's doing good. Ashley says, I have 2 ball pythons. Nice. How's your day? My day is doing pretty good. Actually went to Safeway and got a bunch of groceries. That was pretty much my day. Just took care of the animals, doing a live stream here. Pretty much a typical Saturday for me. Where's the best place to get a ball python? I actually prefer to go to Morph Market because you pretty much have the best selection as far as, if you're looking for something that's kind of rare, kind of a rare combination, I see you have the best selection on Morph Market. Although I'd say at your reptile show, if you go to one of your local reptile shows, you can have kind of the instant snake where you don't have to wait for it in the mail. Sometimes you actually have to wait, especially if it's cold outside too. All right, Dan E. I have chicks hatching today. How's your poultry doing? Doing any incubation? So yeah, so my birds are doing great. I'm not sure if I'm going to do any incubation as far as my chickens and my ducks. I might actually hatch out some more of the white pekin ducks. Those are pretty cool. I only have 2 males and 1 female on those. Do y'all like wolves? Not really. So here in Colorado, I heard they were actually reintroducing the wolf in some of the mountain states. I'm not sure if they're actually here in Colorado introducing them, but I've actually seen some wolves here in Colorado, and let me tell you, they can be pretty dangerous if you have livestock, especially for like the cattle ranchers and stuff like that. So if you're into raising cattle, let me tell you, none of the cattle ranchers want the wolves back, but they're pretty cute to actually look at the wolves. All right, JLK, second time catching you live. All right, yeah. Christina, sorry I'm late. No problem. My favorite animal is a wolf. Nice. Let's see. JLK. My snake just shed and I found a few drops of blood. Is this something just from shedding or should I be running to the vet? No. So, as a matter of fact, I kind of experienced this too when I'm actually selling snakes at the reptile show, and I'll have a whole display full of like 60 hatchlings. It seems like every single time I'll have some of them shed right into the display cage, and I'd say pretty much every single one will bleed a little bit during the shed, which I thought was pretty interesting. You actually don't hear a lot of people talking about it, but I'd say pretty normal to see a small amount of blood during a shed. I don't know exactly where it comes from, but it's kind of interesting though. Let's see. Ashley, this is my second time catching you live. Nice. My picture quality is better. Nice. All right. On my phone here, I'm actually recording on my phone. It looks great on my phone, but I have my laptop down here and it does look pretty good on my laptop, which is kind of interesting. I can actually get a little bit more of my fancy rack in the system here. Yeah, it does look good. All right, nice. Huh. Yeah, pretty much my whole family shuts down all their computers during the live stream. Nobody does anything. So I don't know really what's going on. It's kind of weird too, because up here in the mountains, we're getting a lot of snow right now. We're like in the middle of another blizzard, which is kind of crazy. In the middle of April, almost May, and we're getting a big blizzard up here. And you would think a lot of people would be surfing the internet on all the houses around up here just because of the weather. All right, let's see. All right, Alvester McKenzie. How can you tell the age of a snake? I bought a ball python at a reptile show for 75 or 100. My first ever. Want to know how long he has before he is full size. So you really can't tell the age of a snake just by looking at the snake by itself. You can actually tell kind of the minimum age of a snake. So for example, you can actually look at Bobby here around my neck. You know, it's just based on the size of the snake. You know, this isn't a hatchling. This isn't a juvenile. Bobby's about 2,800 grams, almost 3,000 grams. So I'd say, you know, trying to grow a snake as fast as you possibly can and get it to 3,000 grams, I'd say you're probably looking at a minimum of 3 to 4 years at least to get to that size. So I'd say, you know, just looking at this snake, you could say this snake is at least 3 or 4 years old, but you can't tell if this is a 4-year-old snake or if it's a 20-year-old snake. They pretty much look exactly the same. And I don't think Bobby is really going to grow anymore. He's pretty much a full-size mature male ball python at this point. So he'll probably be this size for, you know, the rest of his life, I'm guessing. Females can get quite a bit bigger. I've actually seen females get up to like, you know, 5,000 grams or something like that. Hey, we got our first super chat. What's going on? Almost an hour into the live stream. All right, let's go to the super chat question. David, thank you for the vaccine recovery fund. All right. Hope you're feeling better. Quality is top notch tonight. All right, looks good. It actually does look really good on my laptop, which is better than I've ever seen before, which is kind of crazy. Maybe the internet people saw one of my live streams and said, "Hey, let's increase his internet." I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's the best I've ever seen it on my laptop. Oh, all right, Bobby. Oh, no squeezing. Oh, you're gonna knock me out. All right, Gary Jackson, what are your thoughts on red axanthic? I think the red axanthic is kind of underrated. Not a lot of people are working on it. So the red axanthic, it's actually a co-dominant gene. We have 2 copies of the het red axanthic. It's one of the kind of the confusing genes. They call it het red axanthic, although it's usually when we say het, we're talking about a recessive gene. And in this case, we're talking about a co-dominant. But yeah, I'd say people are definitely sleeping on the red axanthic. It's a pretty awesome combination, especially if you hit the 2 genes of the recessive. It almost looks like an axanthic, which is pretty awesome. Looks like we got another super chat. All right. Clint Winton, what would you breed to a lesser ultramel? Nice. So I would definitely go with like a het ultramel or another visual ultramel with some other genes in the mix and work in the ultramel, which would be pretty cool. Another thing you can actually do with that is work ultramel into pied. So take that and breed it to a visual pied and get the double hets. And if you can actually hit the ultramel pieds, I'd say it's probably one of my favorite combinations with the ultramel that you can do. It's a pretty amazing combination. This is like a really super bright looking pied. I've seen some pretty amazing combinations. Ashley says, everyone subscribe. Yes. Yes. So yeah. So I usually don't. Actively promote people to subscribe on my videos. I actually have a little thing right on the bottom that say, hey, please subscribe, but I usually don't say that in my videos. One of the things that absolutely drives me crazy is when you watch a video and before they even get into it, they're like, hey, please like and subscribe and hit the bell, and you're like, you know, going on and on and on. It's like, just get to the point. It kind of drives me crazy. You know, you can talk for like 30 seconds without actually even starting your video, just talking about stuff like that, which is kind of one of my pet peeves, I guess. All right, looks like we had another super chat. Mike T. Hey Chris, has that snow melted yet? I watched a video today on Nerd. Kevin was using ladybugs to eat snake mites. Wow, that's kind of interesting. I did not know you can use ladybugs to eat snake mites. That is pretty awesome. So as a matter of fact, right now it's still snowing. It's been snowing for like 3 days straight, which is kind of crazy. They said we were going to get like 15 inches or something like that, but it's pretty much almost melting as fast as it's snowing. So we pretty much have, about 2 or 3 inches, and as it snows, it kind of melts at the same time, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, I want the snow definitely to melt so I can ride my motorcycle again. Clint Winton, hi, what's up? Kirk Malik. Evening, everyone. How are we all doing? All right, let's see. Christina says, just went to the Arizona Reptile Expo today. Nice. Ashley says, on the road. Blake Bishop, what's your opinion on the berms? I love them. Yeah, so Burmese pythons, kind of like reticulated pythons, a little bit heavier bodied than a retic, and I'd say they move a little bit slower than your reticulated pythons. Burmese, as a matter of fact, if you're actually looking for a really big snake, Burmese is probably the #1 snake. All right, Gary Jackson, what is your take on the safety of your collection when participating in snake shows? So that's a good question. The safety of my collection. So if I actually have snakes at a reptile show, I've actually seen some people who will actually take a snake and put it in little, like the round deli cups on their table. And the problem is if you actually, depending on your display, if you have them in little round deli cups, people can just snatch them and take off with them. I've actually seen people, what they'll do is they'll like cover their table with netting, try to keep people from walking away with their deli cups with the snakes and the spiders and the tarantulas and the scorpions and stuff like that. But for me, I actually have the ARS caging, which is like a really big display case that has like compartments of, I think it's like 5 snakes per row, that's all together in a plexiglass. So in order for someone to actually steal one of my snakes, they'd actually have to like grab my whole display and take off with it, which I think is pretty unlikely. And on all the displays, they're all locking too, which is pretty nice. So someone can't just open it up and grab a snake and run off with it. So it's pretty secure as far as that. Pretty much the biggest thing I worry about at the reptile shows is getting like mites or something else, from someone else's snake, like on a neighboring table or something. If someone's walking around holding all the snakes and they come over to my table and want to hold a snake, I let pretty much anyone hold a snake as long as they use like the hand sanitizer before. And I don't know if the hand sanitizer will actually kill the mites on their hands before they touch my snakes, but that's kind of one of the biggest things that I worry about, bringing some kind of like a disease or something into my collection. But I'd say it's pretty much a risk you have to take going to the reptile shows. As a matter of fact, at one reptile show, I got the flu really bad and I was super sick. So your snakes can get sick and you can get sick too at a reptile show. So that's kind of the pros and cons of doing a reptile show. All right, Jim, thanks for all you do and the love of the hobby. Yes, there's not a whole lot of info available on the satin gene. What are the characteristics of the gene? Good question. The satin gene. I'm going to jump over to Morph Market and check it out. All right, let's see. I don't know, some of those kind of obscure genes that I haven't heard of. It's actually listed over here on Morph Market. And sometimes some of the genes that I haven't done yet are kind of hard to see. It actually looks like there's 40 of them over here, which is kind of wild. A lot of times what I'll actually see is, how many different people are working on a specific gene. It looks like there's a lot of people working on the satin gene. I have never heard of this gene. So that's one I definitely will be looking into as far as another morphovie. It looks like there might be enough over here. If I can find the kind of the hard part is There's a lot of times you'll see some snakes over here, but you won't see any web pages that describe it, and there'll be like no YouTube videos or anything like that where you can really kind of nail it down before you do a presentation on it. So I'll definitely check into that one. Thanks for that one. Lily says, thanks for all you do. Thank you. Louis Ganico. Today I got my very first ball python. How to decrease humidity. We have just the opposite problem here in Colorado. We're always trying to increase the humidity. And if you actually live somewhere tropical, I would say probably the only thing that I really know of is to use a dehumidifier that you plug into the wall. As a matter of fact, I actually started using a dehumidifier upstairs because of I almost have too much humidity in the house from really cranking up the humidity here in my reptile room. So I would say that's pretty much the only thing that I really know of. If you have too much humidity, is to use an electric dehumidifier. Let's see, just another fool. You live inside the blue eye of a giant. His pupil is oh, that's pretty funny. All right, let's see. Lucia, hey there, salute from Argentina. Wow, Argentina, that's crazy. First time over here, I was thinking about getting a Kenyan sand boa. Have you ever worked with those? Any recommendations? So no, I've actually seen quite a few videos of Kenyan sand boas. As a matter of fact, I've actually seen people actually keeping them in a tub of sand, and they burrow in the sand, which is kind of crazy. I've actually heard they can be a little challenging to try to breed a Kenyan sand boa, and I've actually heard too that they can be a little tricky to feed them too. Don't really know a whole lot about them, but it's kind of an interesting species. All right, 4S Pythons Bateman. How much weight do your females drop from the time you start breeding them until their post-lay weight? So how much from the time you start breeding until, so after they lay, how much do they drop? I would say they get pretty skinny. So usually, I mean, it seems like if you have a ball python female that's developing eggs, it'll actually get bigger and bigger and bigger as the eggs get bigger inside of it. But then after it lays, it gets super skinny. I haven't actually weighed my females and compared them before and after. But let me tell you, once that female lays eggs, it is really super skinny. And if they start eating right away, they can come up to weight really super fast. If they start eating, like, usually what I'll do is I'll try to feed them like 2 rodents a week to really beef them up right after they're laying, and they'll come up to the regular size really super quick. All right, Dan E. When you have snakes in blue, do you increase the humidity or just keep it the same? I do increase the humidity. So like right now, I've been going through my whole collection every single day, once a day, looking for eggs for my females. As a matter of fact, once my females start laying, I usually go through and check like twice a day, like in the morning and the evening, looking for eggs for my females. And if I see a snake that's going into blue, I will definitely increase the humidity, add some moisture to the substrate in that tub to kind of crank it up. Tanya, love Bobby so much. Will you give him some love for me? Yeah. He's getting a little squirrely here. I might actually switch to Bubble because it's been 1 hour and 3 minutes. I'll pull out Bubble for about 1 hour and then we'll go back to Bobby for the end. It's kind of what we've been doing on the live streams. All right, Bobby. I'm going to give you a break. And we'll bring out Bubble. I don't know if Bubble is developing eggs. I should actually, I don't know. This see, the last time she ate was 2 weeks ago. And she does look like maybe she's getting thick enough. I've been breeding her this year. I'll have to look on my breeding log, see what I'm pairing up with Bubble, but she looks like she may be getting some eggs in there. So I'm thinking maybe this is the last live stream for Bubble. She looks, yeah, I'd say she's developing eggs. Look at how chunky she's getting. Pretty big for not eating for 2 weeks. Maybe, I don't know. All right. Let's see. Tanya Mitchell, do you still have Bobby's parents? So what's interesting is I actually bought Bobby as an adult over on Morph Market. So I didn't produce Bobby. Bobby's actually 8 years old, and 8 years ago I was not breeding Ball Pythons. I was actually breeding 6 years ago. So he was born 2 years before I even started breeding Ball Pythons. But I'll definitely have some baby Bobbies here for sale here probably in about 3 months. I should have a lot of just straight bamboos from the breeding that I'm doing this year. I should have a lot of lessers too. Actually, I'm taking my lesser bamboo and I'm breeding it through a lot of females. Ashley says, I hope you feel better. Thank you. Still kind of under the weather from my vaccine that I got 7 days ago from COVID. All right, Outbreak. Best low budget female to breed with my bamboo. I would get a normal ball python. I'd say pretty much, a lot of people, most of the people that I've actually seen looking for a bamboo, they just want a straight bamboo with no other genes in the mix. And a lot of times when you start mixing other genes in with bamboo, I don't think it's really as appealing as just the straight bamboos. So I would probably go with just like a normal. Another thing you can actually do is, if you actually find one, is do something like a female bamboo. Breed a male to a female, and then you get all bamboos and super bamboos, and you get 25% of the time I think you'd hit a normal, but you'd have more bamboos. But if you hit the super, those would be pretty expensive too, but you'd increase your odds for the bamboos. But as far as the low budget, yeah, so I'd probably just do, you could also do like a pinstripe like this one. The bamboo pinstripes are one of my favorites. Ashley says, how many subscribers do you have? I can tell you exactly right now how many subscribers I have. It's kind of interesting that YouTube has started rounding the subscribers, so you can't tell exactly. Let me see if I can actually do this. The last time I jumped over here. All right, so I got it. I have 44,782 subscribers. After 3 years of daily videos and almost 1,200 videos, it doesn't seem like it seems like it should be a bigger number after all those videos and all this time. But pretty much steadily plugging along. I haven't really had anything go viral where I had this, some people, they'll, kind of plug along and then they'll have a huge spike in views and subscribers where they'll actually gain like 100,000 subscribers and then they'll just drop back down. And they'll just kind of keep plugging along. I haven't had anything like that. It's been pretty much a slow and steady climb over the last 3 years, which is kind of crazy. Let's see. How far are we behind on these comments? So we're like 10, 20, maybe about 25 comments behind, maybe 30. All right, let's see. Gary Jackson, thanks for the feedback. I have my female het Axanthic. My male will be shipped this coming Wednesday. Definitely a project along with my Axanthic. Nice. That's the other thing I was actually thinking about kind of working into my triple het project was Axanthic in with the albino pied and clown. But I'm thinking maybe I might do the puzzle instead. Maybe leaning more towards the puzzle. I haven't kind of figured that one out. I think this year I'm going to do the confusion, probably pick up a male confusion this year after I sell some hatchlings. Maybe next year I'll do a female puzzle or something to work into my triple het project. Ashley says, how many snakes do you have? I actually have 43 right now. 2 of them are reticulated pythons, 41 are ball pythons, and I generally produce anywhere from about 50 to about 120 hatchlings every single year. So I used to, as a matter of fact, I actually used to kind of build up all my hatchlings and wait for the next reptile show, and I'd just get more and more hatchlings, and I'd fill my whole room. And now it seems like as soon as my hatchlings are ready to sell, I post them over on Morph Market, and they sell within sometimes just hours. They sell super fast over on Morph Market. So I don't really have a lot at any one time. As a matter of fact, I actually have this huge hatchling rack over here that holds 65 hatchlings, and I didn't even use it last year because I was selling hatchlings so fast, which is kind of crazy. All right, Mark Hull. Hey, Chris, me and my wife are thinking about moving to Colorado. Nice. We were wondering what the laws about breeding and housing ball pythons. So there's really no laws for breeding and housing ball pythons. You don't need any type of permit or anything like that. But, you know, of course, if you technically, if you actually are breeding animals and you're making a profit, technically you need to pay taxes on your profit and set it up as a business, just like anything else. You know, even if you're selling like stuff at a yard sale and you make a profit, technically you're supposed to pay taxes on your yard sale. As a matter of fact, I think you need a permit for yard sales up here in Colorado, which is kind of crazy. You don't need a permit for breeding ball pythons, which is pretty wild. Smile and Profit, you should breed Angolan pythons. Yeah, so I'd considered breeding a bunch of different types of snakes. As a matter of fact, I kind of started out with a whole variety of a bunch of different things. But the problem is you end up breeding, you know, like a pair of one species and a pair of another species, versus if you actually get rid of all your snakes except ball pythons, then you have all these snakes you can interbreed and mix up every single year. And that's one of the reasons I went with just ball python, so I can interbreed all of them together, which gives you more possibilities as far as what you can produce. Clouds the Cat. Hey, my ball python is 3 years old. He's about 2.5 feet long, about 2 to 3 inches wide. Is he a normal size? Yes. So that is, yeah, that's about normal, I'd say, for a 3-year-old, 2.5 feet long. Yeah, most people will weigh them, and they'll actually say, this ball python is 3 years old and it's so many grams. You can actually kind of figure out the gram weight. And I'd say usually at about 2 years old, they're anywhere from about 800 to 1,200 grams. And sometimes they'll go on a fast right at about that time. So I've actually seen 3 years old, you know, that are like 1,200 to 1,500 grams. And so I've actually seen 1-year-olds that are over 1,500 grams. So it really depends on how much you feed them and kind of the appetite of the snake. The more you feed them, the bigger they get. And sometimes they can be kind of picky. All right, 4S's Pythons. I'll be in Arlington this time next week. Nice. Let's see. Male pastel plus female banana make a male banana. So if you actually have a female banana, so the female bananas are not male makers or female makers. So if you take a female banana and it lays eggs, all the banana offspring, half of them will be males and half of them will be females, as far as my understanding of the banana gene. The banana is pretty much the same thing as the coral glow too. Snake eyes. Are single gene balls more pure than other morphs with multiple genes? And will breeding too many genes dilute the quality over the time? So as far as I know, as far as I've seen, you can actually take like individual genes, mix them together in a multi-gene animal, and then breed them all out in their pure form. It doesn't dilute the genes, and you still have the same quality as far as the pure gene coming out of a multi-gene combination. As far as I know, I've never heard of anything as far as, you know, where you'd actually get, you know, like a normal that has a little bit of spider, like a spider with a little bit of pastel, and it's usually either one or the other. They come out as the pure individual genes. as far as what I've seen. Let's see. Or even your first snake. My first snake, some of the first snakes I actually had, I was actually catching wild garter snakes when I was about 8 years old. So I'd say that was probably my very snake. I never kept them as pets though. I always caught them, played with them in the day, and then just let them go at night. I guess you could consider that my first snakes. All right, Wiggly Fin. Can I feed my 2-month-old ball python a small or weaned rat? He is around 2 inches wide, 17 inches long. So I would probably look at the size of the rat as far as the thickest part of the rat, and I wouldn't go any bigger than the thickest part of the snake when you're feeding the snake. So I kind of look at the two and make sure you don't get, so for example, like on this one, pretty much the biggest size rodent you could feed this is like the thickest part of the snake right here. Although what I actually do is I go maybe like 3/4 or down to maybe, I'd say maybe about 3/4 on a big snake like this. I really don't push it to where I'm feeding really super big rodents to my ball pythons. All right, WM Pythons. Hey, Chris, do you think males can sense smell females when they're ready to breed? And do you think this would affect anything if they're in tubs next to each other? I don't really think so. Some people actually separate all their males and their females in separate racks because they think they can actually smell each other. Maybe there's some pheromones in there or something. I don't really think that's the case as far as mixing the males and the females in the same rack. Although it's kind of interesting, it seems like all my snakes kind of go in this swing where it seems like a lot of them will know that it's breeding season and a lot of them will go off of food all at the same time, even though I'm not pairing them up. So some of the ones that I'm growing up, like some of my grouts, they'll go off of food with all my other snakes, and it seems like every snake in my whole room won't eat for an extended period of time, like right in the middle of the breeding season, which I think is kind of interesting. I think maybe there are some pheromones or something that a lot of these snakes are releasing that kind of triggers them to go off of food or something like that. All right, Daniel just got a VPI Axanthic Leopard female. Nice. That's a really awesome combination. So VPI Axanthic Leopard, what I would actually work into that, I'd probably do like fire and pastel into a leopard VPI Axanthic. That would be pretty awesome. It would really clean it up, which would be really awesome. All right. Irrigation Tim, where does the male maker banana come from? So so male makers and female makers, it gets a little bit confusing with the bananas. It's only associated with the males. So only the males can be male makers or female makers. If you actually have a male maker, you breed it to something else, all the offspring come out as males, and all those males will be male makers. If you actually have a female that lays eggs, those eggs hatch and you end up with a male banana. That male banana will be a female maker because it came from a female, which is pretty wild. But it's only the males that can be male makers and female makers. Let's see, Stuco. I know Bol Pythons can have lots of different morphs, but does color correlate to temperament? Are certain morphs better for handling? So I think there are certain genes that are a little bit more aggressive. So for example, I've actually heard a lot of big breeders, they'll say a lot of their like super cinnamons, the super black pastels, and the 8-balls of the snakes that are completely black and patternless can be a little more feisty than a lot of the other ones. As a matter of fact, I actually took my albino pied. I have an albino pied male, which is a visual with the 2 recessive genes. And it seems like when I breed that through my collection and produce the double hets, het albino and het pied, it seems like those are a lot more feisty than a lot of others. I've probably been bitten probably 90% by my double hets, the het pied, het albinos, which is kind of crazy. And of course, they eventually will grow out of it. It seems like that's just kind of the characteristic of the hatchlings when they go through the certain stage of the hatchling. I'd say usually when they get to about 200 or 300 grams, something like that, they can get really feisty about that weight. Let's see, if the father of the was a male, they will make males. Yes. You're coming through really clear. New setup? Nope. Same setup. I don't know what's going on with this crazy setup. Just a random, really good connection tonight, which is kind of wild. I'm actually just going right through my phone, which is the same setup I had before. Kurtwood75, hey Chris, stopping in to say hello. What is going on? All right, Dan Murphy, I just got my pastel butter desert ghost. Nice. I credit you with helping me get into the hobby. Keep making great videos. Nice. That's a pretty awesome combination. Can't go wrong with desert ghost. That is for sure. All right, West Philly Kel. My Inchy Spider is about 1.5 years old, 275 grams. How can I beef him up fast and safely? 1.5 years old, 275 grams. Yeah, so I'd say that is pretty small for a 1.5-year-old. 275 grams. What I would actually do is I would probably start feeding twice a week to try to get that one up to size. And really depends on how much it's eating. So if it's not eating really well, I would probably actually even go all the way back to like a live mouse. You could try like a live adult mouse. That would probably be good for that. And then probably switch to like a frozen thawed mouse if it's a little picky. But if you can get it on like a frozen thawed rat, that would be the best. And I would probably just increase the frequency to twice a week. And I'll definitely it almost seems like maybe you're not feeding them enough as far as a big enough size of a rodent, or maybe not as frequent as you should on that one. So I would definitely try to increase that. Yeah, that is tiny. That is pretty small. All right, let's see. Nathaniel, my female snake, whom I've had for 5 years, just refused food for the second time. She refused at first because she was sick. I don't know what this time. Any suggestions? Yeah, so so I have ball pythons that'll refuse week after week after week for months on end. Pretty much perfectly normal for ball pythons. They'll refuse food sometimes for a long time. And sometimes they'll just eat like pigs. It's just kind of one of the random things with ball pythons. Pretty normal for ball python. What was my first snake? What made me decide to breed ball pythons? Good question. I actually started, as a matter of fact, I actually started when I was about 8 years old, catching garter snakes in the wild. That was when I first started in snakes in general, but I never really kept one as a pet. And then I was actually at work I'd say about 7 years ago. I didn't know anything about snakes or reptiles or ball pythons or anything. Someone came up to me in the lunchroom and showed me the snake on their phone that just sold for $45,000. I was like, what in the world is going on with ball pythons? It was actually a scaleless head ball pythons. And back then, the scaleless heads were selling within days when people would post them over on Morph Market. And I was just completely blown away. And that's kind of what piqued my interest way back then. I almost felt like I kind of missed the boat on ball pythons, that if I would have known about it 10 years earlier, I would have definitely got into ball pythons a lot earlier than I did. It was kind of crazy. So my very first snake, as a matter of fact, my very first ball pythons, I went to the NARBC in Tinley Park and I bought a pair of pied ball pythons. Those were my very first ball pythons. Let's see. Lucia, hope your YouTube channel keeps getting bigger. You're one of the people that really got me into snakes and more. Sadly, over here, the government started to put some restrictions for exotics. Wow. So, yeah, in some places, even in the United States, you can't keep ball pythons. It's against the law to keep them, which I think is crazy. Especially in places that are really cold, that if a ball python got away, there's no chance of it actually reproducing in the wild. So I don't know why anyone would ban ball pythons. They're completely harmless. I don't see what harm they could do, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, so yeah, I hope your YouTube channel keeps getting bigger. It definitely will, slowly but surely. Let me tell you, it seems like a really long road, but that's pretty much my full-time job now, just doing YouTube and breeding snakes. So it'll just take time. It'll definitely get bigger over time. All right, let's see. Merino morphs. Wish I could try ASF. That would get them up to weight. If you have problems feeding, change them around on the rack. So so if you have problems feeding, you could change. I've actually heard where people, kind of move them around in the rack. And I think really depends on where your heat probe is in the rack. Sometimes the hot spots in the different parts of the rack can be different. I think moving around in the rack can change the temperature of the hot spot, which is kind of interesting. I found that if you actually replace the substrate more often, like when I go through and replace all my Reptichip or my Pro Coco, the coconut husk substrate, it seems like right after I replace it, all my snakes tend to go back on food with a fresh substrate. So maybe try changing your substrate more often to get them back on food. All right, Wiggly Fin. What would I get if I bred a calico yellow belly ball python with a pastel female? Yeah, so you can actually go over to the genetic calculator or the genetic wizard, and it'll actually show you. You'll actually get calicos, yellow bellies, pastels. You'll get calico yellow bellies, calico pastels. You will get calico yellow belly pastels, and you'll get normals out of that combination too, which is pretty awesome. So the yellow belly and the pastel is that they're actually brightening genes. What you can actually do to that is add some more brightening genes like the fire or the orange dream to really kind of increase the brightness of your combinations. Is it okay to hold your ball python at night, like 9:30 p.m.? Yes, I do hold my ball pythons pretty much any time of the day or night, no problem at all. So we are at 1 hour, 27 minutes on the live stream. 80 people on the live stream still, 61 thumbs up. That is pretty good. All right, Marino Morris, just hanging out in the chat, listening and reading comments. All right, what is going on? All right, let's see where we are in the comments. We are maybe what, 10, 20, 30, 40. We're like 40 comments behind. We're like way back here. So I'll just take them in order. It seems like after 3 hours, we eventually hit all the comments all the way up and down. How much are Bobby's babies? Good question. So, I'm not sure. I'm thinking about increasing the price this year because they were selling so fast last year. Last year I was selling them for 400 plus shipping. I think I'm going to increase it a little bit this year because, as a matter of fact, the last time I posted some of Bobby's babies, I posted, I think, like 7 of them over on Morph Market, and they all sold within like 10 hours, which is kind of crazy. They sold super fast. A lot of people have been waiting for them. It really depends on how many I get too. So if I get a lot more of them, usually I don't charge that much. Versus if I just get just a couple of them, sometimes I'll bump up the price on them. Let's see. Tim Goodwin. Does your family help with the snake chores? Are you pretty much a solo act? Yep. So I am 100% solo on all my animals and my YouTube and everything here going on in my reptile room. The only time I get help is if I get hurt and I can't move, then I get help. Like if I throw out my back or something. All right, let's see. Nathaniel. Let's see. I know this. Hmm. Let's see. All right, 4S's pythons. Is it pretty safe to say that my female is gravid if she hasn't eaten in about 2.5 months and hasn't lost any weight? Yeah, so that's a pretty good sign. If you've been breeding your male and your female together, and then your female goes off of food and it hasn't lost any weight, usually it's a good sign. Sometimes it can be a little bit tricky. Sometimes they can kind of maintain that weight. But I would say if it looks like it's increasing in weight to where it gets fatter and fatter and fatter, especially towards the end where it really starts building eggs, that's a pretty sure sign that you have eggs in that female. I think I missed the ovulation. Yeah, so I don't really look for ovulations here in my collection. I just kind of look at the body condition of my females. All right, GT0591. I have a pastel leopard 100% het pied. Should I breed her to a clown to get possible pastel leopard 100% het clown 50% het pied? Or should I just breed her to a pied? Pastel leopard 100% het pied. Yeah, so the problem is kind of the frustrating part about recessives is once you start hitting the 50% het pieds, the possible het pieds, and keep going down that way, it gets kind of dilutes the pied, and you kind of lose track of what could be pied and what couldn't be pied. So what I would actually do is I would breed that pastel leopard 100% het pied to a pied, and then try to get the pastel leopard pied so you know what you have, and then breed that to a clown or something like that to try to get if you're actually going for the double heads. I don't know, 100% het clown, 50% het pied, yeah. So yeah, I don't know. That's a tough call with recessives. I really don't like recessives when they start getting diluted like that. It can kind of drive you crazy. It's like through my whole collection, everything's starting to become possible het desert ghost. And I'm selling all these snakes there's a slight possibility that could be, possible het desert ghost. Sometimes it can drive you crazy, just kind of going through your collection, kind of getting further diluted. Johnny, hello, Chris. Hope all is well. 2 questions first. Which combo has the best chance you get a blue-eyed leucistic? And if I mix 2 blue-eyed leucistics, would my whole clutch come out as Lucy? So yes, if you do breed 2 blue-eyed leucistics, you will get blue-eyed leucistics. What combo has the best chance? So if you breed any 2 genes in the blue-eyed leucistic, you'll actually get 25% of the time you'll hit a blue-eyed leucistic. If you actually breed any gene in the blue-eyed leucistic to a visual blue-eyed leucistic, half of your offspring will come out as white snakes. So if you actually took like Bobby, which is the bamboo ball python that I had around my neck before, and then breed it to a blue-eyed leucistic, half the offspring would come out as white snakes. Let's see. What's your biggest ball python? I actually have a female 100% het caramel albino that I assume is a het for caramel albino. I've never actually produced a het caramel albino. I just kind of use her because she's a really big female. And she's right about, she's probably about 5,500 grams right now. Really super big female. Let's see. Outbreak. For a new breeder, do you think it's smarter to buy cheaper gene adults or more expensive gene hatchlings? So I actually started with more expensive hatchlings. And the problem is you don't see a return on investment for a few years, which can be pretty frustrating. So what I would actually do is I would start with adults or like females that are really close to being a laying size, which is like close to 1,500 grams, and then breed those the first couple of years. Then you get some income coming in, and then you can use some of that money to reinvest in some of your higher end multi-gene combinations And then you can afford to sit on some of those higher end snakes while you're still being productive from some of your lower end stuff that are kind of paying the bills for the food and the bedding and everything like that. So that's what I would suggest. The Sea Falcon. Hey Chris, what is your all-time favorite ball python morph? That has to be the bamboo that I don't have around my neck right now. I have bubbles. But yeah, so I think the bamboo is pretty much the best standalone gene as far as one of the most visually impressive standalone genes. You know, I just realized on my setup, my video quality is really good. I don't know if it makes any difference that I have my phone plugged into my laptop. I don't know if it's the extra power going into my phone that could potentially be giving me a better picture, which is kind of interesting. Maybe I'll try the difference. As a matter of fact, what I could do is I could unplug my phone. I don't think this will mess anything up. Let's see if my quality goes down. I wouldn't think it would have any difference. Make any difference as far as the quality. So maybe we'll try that for a little bit. My phone was down to like 70%, which wouldn't make a 3-hour live stream. So we'll try it a little bit with it unplugged. See if the quality changes. Let's see. Marina Morphs. Hey Chris, you going to meet us? Arlington, Texas reptile show. I'll be there. I'd like to meet you. Nope, I won't be going to Texas. Not this year anyways. I'm actually doing the Pueblo, Colorado reptile show in 4 weeks if you want to go to that one. So I'm actually going to bring my Harley Davidson, which would be pretty fun. First time, kind of a long trip on my Harley. It'll be probably be on the road about 8 hours on that bike, which would be kind of crazy. All right, let's see. Let's see. How much longer will it take my female ball python to grow to 1,600 grams? If I feed her weekly and she is at 317? Good question. So yeah, so if you're at 317, so if you want to get there quicker, you could actually feed more than just once a week. At 300 grams, you might be able to go maybe twice a week for a little bit until you get a little bit bigger, depending on what size of a rodent you feed. But a lot of times, if you get up to anywhere between 800 and 1,200 grams, a lot of time you run into that wall, like the 1,000-gram wall, and sometimes you'll just get stuck there. And a lot of times it'll take you a few months to kind of get over that wall to get up to 1,600. I've actually seen some people where they actually have a 1,600-gram 1-year-old, which is kind of crazy. So it's pretty unpredictable as far as how long it would potentially take to get to 1,600. I'd say if you're eating really good, if your snake's eating really good, you can get there within, usually it's about 2 years minimum to get to 1,600 grams. And probably I'd say, usually you'll get there at least by 3 years to 1,600 grams. Patriotic Morphs, what is up? All right, Daniel, I have a Fire Banana Lesser Pinstripe. Nice. Snake Eyes, can you do a review on the Toxic Ball Python? Let's see. Let me go back over here to Morph Market. I don't know if my quality is less or better. I don't know. I think my quality is a little bit better if I plug my phone in. I think that is the key. If I can find the hole here. All right, let's see. I think that's why my quality was better, because I had my phone plugged in. All right, let's check out this toxic. I think I looked this up once before over here on Morph Market. Yeah, there's so many genes. It's unbelievable. There's probably, I'd say maybe about 100 genes, maybe more that I haven't covered yet. So there's actually been 4 over here on Morph Market, the US version. They have a Super Pastel Tuxedo, Super Pastel Pinstripe Calico. Yeah, let's look over in Europe. Nothing in Europe. Nothing in South Africa. Yeah, so with only 4 examples, multi-gene combinations, it's kind of difficult to actually do a morph review on that one. What's the best thing about being a snake owner if you just have them as pets? I would say they're extremely low maintenance. That's probably the best thing, where you can put them in an enclosure and you can completely forget about them for days at a time. You can actually go on vacation. You don't have to hire anyone to come in and feed them. You can go, you can actually go like for a whole week. You don't have to even mess with them at all. That's probably the best thing. Super low maintenance. Let's see. Yes, females will make female makers. Yes. If you have a male maker banana and it makes a female, now the female banana breaks the curse. Yes, it's kind of a curse with the female makers and the male makers. Yeah, so so if you actually have if you have a male maker banana that's a male, they say like 1 in 100 offspring can potentially be a female, which I thought was pretty interesting. I've been breeding coral glows here in my collection. I have a male maker, male coral glow, and I've produced dozens and dozens of coral glows over the last 6 years. Not a single female that I've ever produced from that, but they say you can actually make a female. You're coming to Repticon in Grapevine, Texas. Nope, probably I'll just do shows here in Colorado this year. Let's see. Yeah, I thought females made both. Yeah, so the female bananas do make male and female bananas, and all the males that come from that will be female makers. Let's see. Let's see. All right, Bryce T, where do you think the reptile ball python breeding community will be in a few years? So from what I've actually seen, it seems like the ball python industry is actually increasing. And I think it's because there's a lot of YouTube channels doing a lot of YouTube videos on ball pythons, which seems like it really promotes the hobby, which, when we first started out in ball pythons, not a lot of people were doing the social media thing, but it seems like it's even more popular now. Which it seems like, I would say, from what I'm seeing, it seems like the prices are going to increase, and the whole community as a whole is just going to really increase over the next few years. Wolfbite YT says, hi, what's going on? Trent Thomas, what should I pair with an ivory pastel male? So an ivory, so as a matter of fact, if I had an ivory pastel, what I would actually do is I would breed that to either a gravel or an asphalt female, because you'll actually make the highways and the freeways, and then when you work the pastel into the highways and freeways, you can make some really amazing combinations from those. All right, Bradley, do other banana clowns have that female and male maker as well, or is it just random? So it's only the bananas and the coral glows. So if you actually have other genes, you can have other genes mixed with it. It doesn't really matter, as long as it has the banana or the coral glow in the mix, then you'll end up with the male makers and the female makers. Let's see. Orlando, hey Chris, you got Bobby as an adult. Was he always super tame, or did you have to work on that? Yeah, that's a good question. So it's kind of interesting, when I first started putting a snake around my neck, I was putting just kind of random snakes through my collection around my neck, and it seemed like every snake that I put around my neck would choke me out and just kind of, be real flighty and just take off. And then I was kind of looking through my collection. I was like, all right, I just need one snake as a mascot that I could use all the time that's around my neck. And the bamboo really stuck out, because not a lot of people really knew about bamboo. And Bobby is pretty much the oldest bamboo that I've ever seen as far as anywhere. As a matter of fact, if you go over to Morph Market, look at all the sold bamboos and sort by the oldest one. Bobby comes up as the #1 oldest bamboo over on Morph Market. So I pretty much decided, all right, I'm just going to work with one snake. It's going to be this bamboo. And then I decided to name him Bobby because Bobby rhymes with bamboo. Bobby the bamboo. I just kind of randomly picked Bobby as a name. And then when I first started putting him around my neck, he would choke me out all the time. And it probably took, I'd say, probably 3 or 4 months of working with Bobby every single day around my neck until he wouldn't choke me out in the middle of a video. And now he's just, it seems like, after, like hundreds and hundreds of videos, I probably did, 600 videos at least with Bobby on my shoulder. And he's just like super tame. He just expects to come out and just hang out on my shoulder, which is kind of crazy. All right, Daniel, let's see. Banana leopard, banana lesser fire, pinstripe figures, cross to crush the odds. Nice. Alpha Draconian. Hi, glad to catch a live video with you. Nice. Let's see. JLK. I'm trying to win a female soul sucker lemon blast on Instagram. Nice. This would make any interesting combos with my visual pod. So the soul sucker is, with the pod. Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. My computer's freaking out in here. So what you would actually get, so the soul sucker is the lesser hidden gene woma. You'd mix it with a pied. One interesting combination you'd actually get is the lesser pied, which is a completely white snake, which is kind of interesting. And sometimes the lesser pieds can have blue eyes, which is pretty wild. Even though you only have one copy of a gene in the blue-eyed leucistic, sometimes the lesser eyes can be blue in the lesser pied combinations. Christopher, what's up, Chris and Bubbles? This is Bubbles. All right, Bradley, I have a question. What's the best ball python morph to start breeding, and what can you make the most money off of? So when you first start breeding, I would say what I would recommend is going with like a dominant or a co-dominant, like the bamboo. You can actually take a bamboo, breed it to something else, and you'll see all the visual bamboos. Versus if you bought like a recessive or a double recessive, like an albino pied, and you bred it to something else, you would get the hets, which can look like normal ball pythons. Sometimes that can be kind of discouraging for someone new. And as far as making the most money, I'd say the more money you invest up front is the more money you will recoup in the end. So if you buy like $10,000 snakes up front, you're going to make a lot more money than if you buy like $20 snakes up front and you reproduce. You basically are reproducing whatever you're investing in. All right, Alfred Draconian. My husband said you're the YouTube snake king to him. New to your channel, glad to see a live video. Thank you. Welcome to the channel. Yes, yes. I do a lot of snake videos. With every now and then, I'll throw something wild in there that has nothing to do with snakes. I'm actually trying to do like once a week, trying to throw something a little bit different just to kind of mix it up to different viewers. Let's see. Ashley, I'm back. What's up? I ate at Taco Bell. Nice. Orlando, if I want a 90-degree hotspot, do I set the thermostat and the heat tape to 90, or should I shoot a little higher to ensure the hotspot is actual temps nice? So yeah, I don't know. So some people, it gets a little bit tricky. I've actually seen a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll set the thermostat to 90 and then they'll take a heat gun and they'll measure the temperature of the substrate over the hot spot and keep increasing the hot spot until the top of the substrate gets to 90 degrees. But the problem is if they dig down in the substrate to the plastic, sometimes it is more than 90 degrees. And what I do is I set the thermostat to 90 degrees, and I put the probe of the thermostat right on top of the metal panel that goes right on the tub. And then I'll actually take all the substrate from the back of the tub and move it up so the back of the tub is right on the hot spot. And I don't really worry about dialing it into exactly 90 degrees. I just have all my thermostats set to 90 degrees. So I suppose it could fluctuate a little bit. So it looks like we had a super chat. All right. JLK. Thanks for answering all of our questions. Looking forward to catching another live soon. Thank you. Yeah, so I try to catch everybody's question on the whole live stream, which I know a lot of people don't do. As a matter of fact, pretty much, kind of at a sweet spot where I have enough questions to keep me going during the live stream so we don't run out of questions and there's, nothing to talk about. And I'm at a point where after 3 hours, usually I can answer everybody's questions. It's a pretty good amount of questions that I have going on. I've seen some people where they'll do a live stream and they won't get that many questions and they'll they won't have anything to talk about. And I've seen other people that have live streams and the questions go by so fast that there's no way they can answer all the questions, which is kind of crazy. All right, Christopher, last Sunday bought an Enchi and Enchi pastel, both adult females with 110 gallon terrarium set up, $250. Wow, that's pretty awesome. Let's see. Let's see. I'll label them all Bobby's babies. Let's see. Because I really like the banana clowns, I have an orange dream pastel. Nice. Gary Jackson, I have a lesser female. What do you think would be a more successful breeding? Hey, got another super chat. Thank you. That's awesome. All right, let's see. Have a lesser female. What do you think would be a more successful breeding visually and financially? Taking my orange dream to her or my Enchi pastel? Let's see. Lesser female. So you would get a lesser orange dream or a lesser Enchi pastel. I would say financially, I don't know. It really depends on your version of orange dream. Some of those orange dream versions can be really super bright and they can be pretty expensive. But I would say, I don't know, you're actually comparing one gene, the orange dream, to two. So potentially you can actually hit a 3-gene combination with the lesser, the Enchi, and the pastel, which may be a little more expensive of a combination. All right, Sweat Police. I have a question. One of my snakes just isn't eating, and I've had him for a long time. Do you know what might be happening? So wow, we did actually, we just disconnected just for a minute. It said reconnecting. We just lost the stream for a second, and it's interesting when it loses it, it reconnects and kind of picks up where it left off. All right, so yeah, it depends on what you mean by a long time. So ball pythons can fast for months at a time, and that's pretty normal for ball pythons. So I wouldn't really worry about it too much. I'd say if you're going pretty much past, like 4, 5, or 6 months without eating, and it's sometimes you can have like a really huge snake. Like if you have like a 5,000 gram snake that hasn't eaten for 6 months, it can be okay. But if you have a smaller snake that like a juvenile or like a hatchling, if you have a hatchling that hasn't eaten for several weeks, then it would be kind of concerning. So it really depends on the size of the snake and how long it's been fasting too. All right, Joseph, have you had a snake swallow Reptichip while feeding? Yes, I actually have had a few snakes eat some Reptichip, and as far as I've seen, really doesn't hurt them at all. I haven't had any snakes. Matter of fact, I only actually ever had one snake die in my collection. And so when I first started out, it's weird. I just opened up a tub and I had the snake that passed away in the tub. But ever since then, I haven't had any problems, you know, with snakes dying from ingesting any substrate. Some people say, you know, if your snake ingests the substrate, it could potentially kill them, but I haven't seen anything like that in my collection. Hamza, greetings. What is going on? NSG Lifestyle, how many snakes do you breed a year? So every year I'm actually breeding more and more females as my holdbacks are actually growing and maturing. This year I'm breeding 23 females. As a matter of fact, actually next year I'm thinking maybe some of my scaleless heads will be ready, which would be pretty awesome. So I have quite a few that are kind of on the back burner, some females that I'm growing up. And this year I actually held back 2 males because I've been holding back so many females, I didn't have enough males to go around. Yeah, I've had it stuck in their mouth. Yeah, sometimes they'll actually get Reptichip in their mouth. The only one that I've really had a problem is my reticulated python. So sometimes they'll actually get a mouthful of substrate instead of the rat. And what I'll actually do with that is I'll put like a piece of cardboard down, and then I'll put the rat on the piece of cardboard, use it as kind of a feeding tray for my reticulated pythons. They seem a little bit more sensitive to, yeah, it's funny, they'll get a mouthful of substrate, and then instead of eating the rodent, they'll spend a few minutes trying to get all the substrate out of their mouth, which is, you can definitely tell it's uncomfortable for them. But usually with my ball pythons, it seems like it's not really a problem as far as getting the substrate in their mouth when I'm feeding. All right, Justin, what is one thing you know now you wish you knew before you started your full-time reptile business? I'd probably say the thing I wish I would have started right from the beginning. I wish I would have started with some adult females right from the beginning instead of getting a bunch of juveniles and then not making any money for the first couple of years, just waiting on those juveniles to mature. So that's probably one thing that I would have done different from the beginning. Let's see, I fed one of my snakes today and I accidentally dropped the mouse and he ate it upside down and didn't readjust. Yeah, so it really depends on the size of the rodent. So if you have hatchlings, a lot of times the hatchling can eat like a rodent backwards, tail first instead of nose first. And I would say usually once you get bigger rodents, the tail kind of gets in the way and interferes with a snake eating it backwards. I've actually watched some snakes trying to eat a mouse backwards, like a big rat backwards, and they're trying to get around the tail and they absolutely can't do it until they figure out they got to kind of flip the snake around, which is kind of crazy. Let's see. What kind of snake is around your neck? This is Bubble. Bubble is a pinstripe female ball python. And I'm actually breeding her this year. I'm thinking maybe she's developing some eggs. I didn't know if she was going to actually go this year, but she may be one of the late goers this year. So she was actually eating, as a matter of fact, she ate like 2 weeks ago. So maybe, I don't know. I don't know if this one's going to go. So this one's eating. My pied female is still eating. My desert ghost female is still eating. So I don't think those 3 females are going to go. But the other ones, I'd say I'm thinking maybe about 15 of my females look like they're gravid this year, which is pretty awesome. Sophia, hey, when did you get your first snake? My first snake I got 6 years ago already. It's kind of crazy. It's been 6 years since I've been breeding snakes. Are there any green ball pythons? Not that I know of. I've actually seen some, maybe with a hint of green, but not really a bright green ball python. I'm trying to think of the greenest ball python that I've seen. I can't think of it off the top of my head. I've seen some that do have a slight green sheen to them, and Bubble is choking me out. I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was some of the red axanthics that kind of have a green sheen to them. I think maybe. Ken Campbell. Hey Chris, I know you're a solo act, but do you think you can get your wife to come on a live stream sometime and say hi? Yeah, I try not to involve family members because let me tell you, being in front of the spotlight where, like, you know, potentially millions of people know your face and know who you are. Some people don't really want to be that well known, you know, when they're, you know, walking into a store and everybody knows them. Yeah, it's you definitely have to, there's like pros and cons, I guess I'd say. And a lot of people don't really want to get in the spotlight just because of that. Adam Olin, what is up? Let's see. Michael, how often should I change my ball python's water? So I actually change water, I'd say, well, it really depends. So if I have a ball python, when I'm using like a Repta chip, the coconut husk chip, and it gets in the water, especially if it starts discoloring the water, I'll definitely change it right then and there. And if I've actually seen where they'll put a lot of the coconut husk in the water to where it's completely full with the coconut husk, they can't drink anything, I definitely change it immediately right then. But if you actually have like clean water where nothing's in the water and you're in there with the ball python, I'd say most people do like maybe once a week on changing out the water. I'd say I probably go maybe 4 days on the water, maybe 3 or 4 days between changing the water in all my ball pythons. And usually what I do is, like, after 3 or 4 days, all my substrate starts drying out, and I have to go through my whole collection and kind of add the humidity back to all the substrate. And at that point, I go through and change out all the water at the same time. All right, Ben Turbin picked up a soul sucker highway male a few weeks ago. Should I do a highway female or soul sucker female? That's a good question. So soul sucker would be lesser hinging woma, and then the highway is the yellow belly and the gravel. Yeah. You could do a highway, but the only problem with the highway is you're going to end up with the ivories, which is the super yellow belly. So in that case, the super yellow belly is going to pretty much mask all the other genes. You won't know if you have the soul sucker in with the highway or not. So yeah, so you can actually go with like, well, there's several different ways you can go. You can go with like a gravel or a super gravel or something like that. You could probably do a highway. Or you could do a soul sucker. There's a lot of things you could do with that too. Depends on what you want to do with that combination. Let's see. Do you like being choked by snakes? Yeah, usually Bubble and Bobby will just kind of hang out around my neck, and they won't move at all. And this one, it seems like she's even more chill than Bobby. She'll just kind of hang out. All right, XX, the deceased XX. What, in your opinion, is the absolute best way to get stuck shed off of a young ball python? My girl has a small patch by her neck that has been so stubborn to get off, even with soaks. So usually what I do is I bring them up to the sink and I just kind of splash some water on them and kind of slowly work on the shed, which you can try. I've actually seen a lot of people they'll take like a pillowcase and get it really soaking wet and squeeze it out, and then put the snake in the pillowcase and then tie it off and kind of let the snake crawl around in the pillowcase. You can actually try that approach too. But a lot of times it means you probably don't have enough humidity in your room. Sometimes you can increase the humidity in your reptile room to bring it up a little bit. I actually have a little like a swamp cooler humidifier over here in my room, and I've been bringing it up to like 52% here in my reptile room, which pretty much solves most of my shedding problems. Oh, let's see. Adam says the nightmare combos are amazing. Brian Powers. Hey, Chris. I have a Pastavi that just laid. I watched her, put her in her bin, but she is still not back on food. Should I just let her wait it out? It's been 2 weeks. Yeah. So, yeah. So when you have a ball python that lays eggs, the females, sometimes it can take months to get them back on food. It can be pretty frustrating with those females. I'd say I've only ever had one that went right back on food the very same week right after they laid. Usually, I'd say it's usually anywhere from about 3 weeks to about 6 weeks before they'll finally go back on food. And then usually once they go back on food, they'll start eating like crazy, which is pretty good. You kind of have a really narrow window to get enough rodents into them before you start pairing them up again at the end of the year. Let's see. What do you do about RI infections? Is heat and humidity enough if you catch it early? So, I would probably bring a ball python to like the veterinarian for respiratory infections. Usually they'll give them injections of like an antibiotic for respiratory infections. So that's what I probably do. What you can try, I would say, is probably lower the humidity as much as you possibly can. Bring it super low. And then, if they're actually going into a shed, maybe just bump up the humidity during the shed. And then right after the shed, go way back down. You want to pretty much keep them out of the humidity as much as possible with a respiratory infection. All right, Kay and John, channel member. Do you pay attention to other breeders' projects? And have you seen some of Justin Kobelka's new stuff? It's pretty insane. Yeah, so I really don't watch other breeders' new projects. There's so much stuff going on out there. Usually I just have a hard time, trying to keep up and make videos every single day and keep track of all my animals, feeding all my animals. So I don't have a lot of time to actually go over to YouTube and watch a lot of YouTube videos from other breeders. But every now and then I will see some of his stuff. He's got some pretty awesome stuff that he produces over there. What does a pied and a bamboo make? Yeah, so if you actually make a bamboo pied, you end up with a completely white snake. It's usually completely white. I've actually seen some bamboo pieds that have kind of a gray head, almost like kind of like a super Mojave in some of your bamboo pieds, but I have seen some without the gray head that are all completely white. Let's see. I only pay attention if I'm looking for something other than I focus on my projects. Yes. Let's see. Eric says my 2 first clutch is Ultramel with Tofino, and the other is Bubblegum with Pied. What do you think? That's pretty interesting. So the Ultramel with the Tofino, that's kind of a complicated project actually, because everything you get will be Het Ultramel, and then it'll be either Het for Toffee or Het for Albino, which is kind of crazy. So you'll get, it's almost like a double het, but you won't know what one of the hets is. So that could be kind of a tricky project. You have to take the offspring and breed them together to kind of figure out what you're actually getting, which would be pretty awesome, because essentially what you get is you would get breeding the offspring together. If you held back a lot of those, you could get Ultramel Toffees, you would get Ultramel Albinos, and you would get Ultramel Toffinos, which would be pretty awesome with those. That's a pretty awesome project. All right, it looks like we're catching up on our comments. Not too bad after 2 hours and 8 minutes. Slowly catching up. All right, Adam, I've got my leopard gecko hatching out. Some are expected tonight. Nice. I've been doing kind of like a natural breeding of my crested geckos. And I'm finding out that crested geckos seem to eat their offspring after they hatch. So every now and then I'll see a little crested gecko in my enclosure with the parents, and then it seems like a couple weeks later they'll completely disappear. I'm pretty sure you're supposed to remove the offspring with the crested geckos so they don't eat them, which I'm finding out. But I'm not really, big into breeding crested geckos. I just kind of have a couple up in my bedroom and in a enclosure, just kind of my first lizard experience with those. They're pretty awesome. I've actually had leopard geckos too, which are pretty cool. Marino Morris, would you want to do a live with another breeder? No, I'm pretty much just a solo guy. So yeah, I haven't really done lives with anyone else. All right, Alpha, I've been watching your videos channel. You're interesting and love all the animals. Thank you. Let's see. Hi, Chris and everyone. I've always been into snakes, but I'm a first-time owner of one. I have a normal ball python. What tips do you have for me? What tips for someone brand new? Yeah, you can actually watch all my videos. I have almost 1,200 videos, mostly about ball pythons over on YouTube. And if you watch all my videos, you'll know pretty much everything that I know when you're done watching them all. So, pretty much any question you have, if you actually just search over on YouTube, try to think of a video for every question that people have. So hopefully you'll find your answers over there. Patent pending pythons. What do you think of the candy gene? So the candy is pretty awesome. So it's actually allelic with albino, so you can make the candinos. And the candies it's kind of interesting. They're not really that popular, and they're really holding their price point really well. I think it would be an interesting project to get into the candies. One of my favorites is the candy pies, working pied into the candy gene. All right, let's see. My husband wants to breed the banana fire male with a banana super fire female. Any advice? So the banana super fire female. So the super fire is an all white snake. Yeah, so banana fire to the banana super fire. So what you'd actually get is you get 50% white snakes, which could potentially be bananas or super bananas or non-bananas. I mean, you could do it, but you wouldn't know exactly what's in your super fires. Although you may be able to actually tell if you have banana in there. So I've actually seen some people where they take a banana, work it into a blue-eyed leucistic, and I've heard that with a blue-eyed leucistic and all-white snake with blue eyes, when you work banana into it, it turns the eyes slightly red. It gives them like red pupils, and you can tell the banana is in the blue-eyed leucistic, which is pretty awesome. I don't know if it's the same with the super fire. Solid. What's up, y'all? Alvester, what type scale do I need to weigh my snake? Does the scale come from a pet store? You can use pretty much any type of a scale. I actually have a pretty fancy scale that I weigh my ball pythons with. I think I paid like $300 for my scale. It's a digital scale. It's really super accurate, and you pretty much only ever have to buy one scale for the, pretty much your whole breeding career. Let's see. Actually, it's 2 banana superfire when they get old enough. Yeah, so if you breed a superfire to a superfire, you would get all white snakes. The whole clutch would all be white. Terrell Harrington, I'm really thinking of doing pasture pig raising. What do you think? I'm not really a pig guy. I'm more of a cow guy. I don't really like I don't know. I don't like the sounds that pigs make. And I don't like the fact that pigs will actually eat the ears of other pigs if you get them in a close enclosed space. But I've actually heard a lot of people, if they're thinking about doing like cows, that a lot of people will actually start with pigs because you can make a lot of money with pigs. That you can actually sell the piglets and they sell really super quick and they're really productive. So you can make quite a bit of money on doing pigs, as far as what I've heard some of the pig guys around here in Colorado. FR Animal tips for someone getting into ball python breeding. Yeah, do a lot of research and make sure. Probably what I would do is I would start with like one female ball python and just get used to the care and the husbandry and the feeding of one female and kind of grow it up a little bit. And then when you're thinking about breeding, you can actually buy a male to pair with the female, because usually you're waiting for the females to get up to size before you can breed them. Are you doing JKR or AEP Patreon? I am not personally doing any. As a matter of fact, for a while I was doing multiple Patreons, but I was pretty much sticking with people that had like $1 Patreons. I don't know if JKR AEP was actually, I think their minimums were like $5 or something like that. It's one of the reasons I didn't do it. Organic Grow Man. Hey, Chris, about a normal ball python that is 663.4 grams. And it's a man, and he's almost 3 foot and will not eat and hasn't in 5 weeks. 663 grams. It's a male, hasn't eaten for 5 weeks. Sometimes they can kind of get up against the 1,000-gram wall early, even at about 700 grams, 700 or 800 grams. So it could be pretty normal for that size of a snake. What you can actually do is you can kind of tempt them with a live mouse. Sometimes you can use like an alive jumbo adult mouse, and sometimes that'll tempt them to get back on the food. Once they eat the mouse, then you can try to transition over to like a frozen thawed rat. Sometimes you can actually even do like a frozen thawed mouse and then switch over to rats. But I definitely wouldn't stay on mice for a snake like that, or you'll end up with a mouser. All right, so what I'm going to do, it's been 2 hours, 16 minutes. I'm going to pull out Bobby for the last 45 minutes of the live stream. So let's put Bubble back. All right, Bubble. I don't know if Bubble wants to go back. All right. We'll pull out Bobby. All right, Bobby, you ready to come out? For the last 45. All right, bringing out the bamboo. All right, Stormy. Hey, Chris, question for you. What cocoa block substrate do you recommend and how long would it last? Right now, my snakes are on paper towel and I'm tired of it. Yes, paper towel. Let me tell you, you're always chasing the mess with paper towels. I actually use a Pro Coco coconut husk. You can actually get it. You can actually get it like on Amazon for, I think it's like $30 a block over there. And as a matter of fact, I was actually looking at my 70 series tub. I was just changing the substrate just the other day. You can actually do 7 tubs with 1 block of the coconut husk, the Pro Coco coconut husk. So it goes quite a long time. And I do like, I'd say probably about a month between bedding changes. So if you only had 1 ball python and you were doing like once a month, it'd probably last you about 7 months per block. So I'd say maybe 2 blocks per year just for 1 ball python. Solid says, anyone keep boas or king snakes? I don't have any boas. I used to have some king snakes. Got rid of my king snakes. I'm thinking about doing one boa maybe at some point. Maybe like one of the white super fires, maybe a female to start out and sit on that female for a while. I'm looking for something that'll eat some more of my retired rats. That's kind of what I'm looking for. I might do one boa at some point. All right, let's see. Solid says, what are your feelings on hybrids like blood balls? I think it's kind of a tough sell because not a lot of people that are into breeding ball pythons or would be looking for a hybrid to actually breed them. I would think if you're actually making hybrids, you're probably targeting more of the pet industry side of things versus, like the whole ball python breeding craze, which I think might be kind of a tougher sell. But although, like with a blood ball, it's like a really big ball python that gets really thick, like a really super heavy bodied ball python, I think it'd be kind of interesting to have a pet like that. All right, Sophia, I gotta go get some rest. Thank you for the info. We'll see you later. Marcus says, what racks do you own? So all the racks here in my collection are actually from arscaging.com. And some of these are like stacks of a whole bunch of different ones. So over here on this stack, I have ARS 8018 on the bottom. I have a boa tub, ARS 7030s. Behind me, these are ARS 5040s. And then I have some hatchling racks here. And then right behind on the other side of the room over here, I have a really big rack of, it's a really big hatchling rack from ARS, all from ARS Caging. Let's see, any morphs that consist of a red and black pattern. So nothing really super bright red in ball pythons as far as a really super bright red snake. Nothing really red and black that I can think of right off the top of my head. All right, recently purchased a mahogany pastel yellow belly het clown male. What female would you recommend pairing to him? So mahogany is a dark gene, pastel and yellow belly are brightening genes. Het clown, if it's het clown, I would probably go with either another het clown or a visual clown to make some. You'd actually make mahogany, pastel, yellow belly clowns. That would be pretty awesome. Or mahogany, you can actually breed it with another mahogany and make some sumas. The super mahoganies is like a super dark snake, which would be pretty interesting when you work in the pastel and the yellow belly in the suma, which would be kind of crazy. And then with the pastel yellow belly, you could always add some other brightening genes. Like you could add like fire and orange dream to that mix to make some bright combinations there too. Denzel DV, what is going on? All right, so we still have 65 people on the line, 81 thumbs up, and we're in 2 hours and 22 minutes. So we'll go 3 hours. So we still have about a little bit, maybe about a half an hour left. All right, let's see. Thomas, my male is 1,400 grams. How far would you space the feedings? Say hi to my son, Ian, who is watching with me. What is going on, Ian? So, yeah, so I pretty much would just feed once a week. I would offer once a week. Even at 1,400 grams, I pretty much offer all my snakes, rodents once a week. And usually I'd say maybe about half the time, half my snakes eat at any one particular time. And a lot of times, a lot of your snakes won't eat too. So if it's always good to kind of keep them slightly on the heavier side, a little bit chunky, just in case they go on a really long fast, they have a little bit of reserve. All right, Drew, do you have a favorite type of animal that's considered odd other than snakes? Hagfish are fascinating to me. Favorite type of animal that's considered odd? Well, I have some 3,000-pound black Angus bulls. All right, Bobby, don't choke me out here. No, I'd say not many people own a black Angus bull. That's kind of odd to have for anyone to own a black Angus bull. I actually have 4 cows, a bull, a steer, and then a female that has just one female that has calves every year, and then I have a baby bull calf. So those cows keep me busy, that's for sure. Let's see. Christopher says, at the end of the year, shooting to pair my spider male to my Enchi female and my Enchi pastel. Really want to hit some stinger Enchis. Yes, that would be pretty awesome. Marcus Winkler, hey brother, I'm looking at getting an ARS rack, thinking about the 50-40 for my adults. What's your suggestion? So yeah, I've actually seen a lot of people where they kind of build their whole collection on the 50-40s, but I've actually seen some of them now a few years later, where let me tell you, they're like cramming their female ball pythons into those 50-40s. You could start with the 50-40, but probably what I do is I would get, eventually get like a 70-30 for your really big females. I think most of your females will eventually outgrow a 50-40 and move up to a 70-30. As a matter of fact, I have some that are in the 80-18 tubs, which are even bigger than that. And let me tell you, if I took one of my 5,000 gram females and tried to put it in a 50-40, you'd like be freaking out. There's no way that snake would fit in there. So, some people try, building out a whole collection with 50-40s, but I think you need a few tubs that are a little bit bigger than that. All right, my daughter's becoming a breeder herself. Right now I'm helping her and everything. She is too young for the business side of it. She's only 8 and has 13 ball pythons. Wow. That's pretty awesome. All right, do you have any advice on the business side of breeding ball pythons? I'm working on getting a business name claimed and cards made. So that's always the kind of the trickiest part, the business name and some of that. So as far as the business, I mean, it's just with ball pythons, it's kind of a long-term process, and it takes a long time to build your collection, wait for the females, and to really get your name out there too. So that's one of the things that just takes a while. All right, see, Organic Grow Man, I have tried live and frozen thawed. Yeah, so sometimes ball pythons, they just refuse absolutely everything, even live or frozen thawed. Sometimes you just kind of have to wait them out and just keep offering every single week. Jesse Parsons, did you ever buy a female axanthic that you made a video about a year ago? So I was actually thinking about buying a female axanthic to work into my triple het project. Now I'm kind of thinking maybe of doing puzzle instead of axanthic. And kind of the problem with axanthic is if you actually mix it in with albino, you end up with the snow, the completely white snake with the red eyes. And if you actually are working it into like a quadruple recessive and you end up with the snow, technically you couldn't see the other genes in the mix. So I think maybe puzzle's a little bit better, because I think if you actually made the albino, so I'm actually doing the albino pied clown, and if actually work in puzzle, I think you might be able to see the puzzle in with all the other genes. Although you work it in with pied, it might be a little bit difficult to see the puzzle in there. So I'll have to think about that one too. But I think this year I'm actually going to invest in probably the confusion gene when I sell some of my hatchlings. And then maybe next year I'll probably get into a female. Maybe, I don't know if I want to do axanthic, maybe puzzle to work into my triple recessive project. All right, FR Animal. I have 2 females now, 1 Enchi yearling, 1 banana hatchling, and that's what I'm planning to get a male for when they get up to size. Nice. They're both beautiful, Bubble and Bobby. They have interesting names, Bubble and Bobby. So this is Bobby, my bamboo ball python. The other one I had around my neck, that is Bubble, the pinstripe. Let's see. Reagan, Renee, Royal Pythons. If you paired snakes last night that were locked this morning and most of the day and you just found them no longer locked, would you leave the male in? So usually if they lock and then they separate, I would probably separate them at that point. As a matter of fact, I don't think they'd probably lock again if you left them together. It seems like when you're pairing up ball pythons, they tend to lock usually within the first day or two, most of the time. Although I have seen some where I've paired them up, and I've actually, when I was kind of peeking in the tubs looking for locks all the time, which I don't really do anymore. A lot of times I've actually seen them lock up after the third day. When I'm ready to separate them, sometimes they'll be locked up. I usually just pair them up for about 3 days. But yeah, if they lock up, keep in mind you want to keep rotating them and pairing them up multiple times throughout the breeding season, because just one lock doesn't necessarily mean that you'll actually get eggs from those two. All right, James Frederick. Hey, I'm able to invest $3,000. What should I buy? So actually, I just put out a video that said what I would buy with $2,000, like the starter setup and the snakes and the rack and everything. You might want to go back and look at that one. If I actually had an extra $1,000 on top of that, I would probably start with another adult female. See if you can get some more adult females, especially if you're just starting out and you want to get some money coming in from your ball python breeding operation. But if you're kind of like at the place where I'm at, where I get the money coming in from the hatchlings, a little bit more well established, where you have, positive cash flow coming in from the sale of your hatchlings, what I would actually do is, if you had $3,000, I would probably invest it all into one really high-end snake, preferably a male that you can kind of spread through your collection to spread those high-end genes around a little bit. All right, Derek Clark. Why are there so few blood pythons for sale at shows, morph market? They are beautiful. So blood pythons. So I've actually seen a lot of videos of blood pythons, and usually they're pretty aggressive and defensive just naturally. So if you actually have a blood python and you don't really work with it a lot, I think a lot of times they can just kind of get really wild and snappy. And I've actually picked up some blood pythons, and a lot of times they'll like pee on you and they'll smell really bad, which, ball pythons, they actually won't do that. They won't pee on you. They won't smell really bad. But I think like blood pythons, I've actually seen some people really work with them and tame them down to where they're super puppy dog tame. So they can be a really awesome pet snake. I think they just need a little more handling than some of the other snakes. The other thing with blood pythons is they get really super big. I've actually seen them. I saw a video on one. I couldn't believe how big it was. It must have been maybe 9 feet long or something like that, and a really super heavy body, which is the biggest one I ever saw. It was kind of crazy. All right, Jesus, gotta go. See you later. James Frederick, blood python are aggressive. Yeah, they're aggressive, but they can be tamed. DE reptiles, what tub size would be best for adult females? So I like to use the ARS 7030 size tubs. And if you actually go over to ARS Caging and look at the ARS 70 series tubs, you can actually get the measurements as far as the inches on those tubs. All right, Alpha, is it bad if you're kissing your snake right on the head, like straight on their mouth? That's a good question. So some people would say that technically you can get salmonella from your ball python, but I don't know how frequent that actually is. I've actually seen people that have been breeding ball pythons for like 20 or 30 years, and no one has ever gotten salmonella from their ball pythons. As a matter of fact, you'll probably get salmonella easier from your backyard chickens. Chickens and chicken eggs are really susceptible to contamination with salmonella. So as far as snakes, I don't really think you can potentially have salmonella on your snake, but I don't think it's that big of a deal as far as being widespread where there's a problem with salmonella with snakes. All right, Nate Bailey, what month do you introduce the males to the females? I pair up all my snakes on October the 15th every single year. Some people actually look at the follicle sizes before they pair them up, and I just kind of pick a date in the fall where I'll actually have hatchlings pretty much with everybody else in the year. As a matter of fact, seems like this year and last year, maybe a little bit later as far as everyone else. Seems like a lot of people on YouTube have a lot of eggs already that they're incubating, and I haven't had any eggs yet. So maybe I'll switch my schedule. Maybe I'll do like early October next year. Marcus says, what year were you in the service? I was with the big red one. Well, that kind of dates me. I actually went in the 101st Airborne back in 1984. That's a long time ago. And then I was in Korea in 1987, then got out in 1988. So I did 4 years in the 101st Airborne. All right, James says the first python he ever held was a blood python. It's not that they can't be trained, but it was a snappy animal. Yeah, so they can be pretty snappy. Let's see. Can you show us one of your females in one of those 70 tubs, please? Yes, so I do have quite a bit of videos. As a matter of fact, I have a video. It's called Tub Sizes, Ball Python Tub Sizes. I think you can search it on YouTube, and I go through every single different size tub in my collection. I'll show you the snake in the tub, and then I'll measure the tub, like the length and the width and the depth, and you can actually get an idea of what those tubs looks like. Kind of hard to do it on a live stream here. Let's see. This was kind of a funny comment. Let's see. Alpha says kissing his ball pythons all the time. Yeah, so I don't know if you get salmonella from kissing your ball python. I know turtles you have to be careful. As a matter of fact, here at the reptile shows, they actually have a limit on the size of turtle that you can sell at a reptile show because they don't want kids putting the turtles in their mouths because of the risk of salmonella, which I thought was pretty interesting. Swifty Slies G. My dad and I started a snake thing, and we have an albino ball python, spider, super pastel, 100% het pied. Nice. We're thinking about doing dubia roaches. Nice. Yeah, dubia roaches are pretty prolific. Let me tell you, they are pretty awesome. Let's see. All right, let's see. Derek Clark, my blood python T-positive albino is the nicest snake I have, but I handle him like you handle Bobby every day since it was little. Yeah, so the blood pythons can be really super friendly. You can really tame them down. Wow, you were 3 when I went in the military. Yeah, I went in a long time ago. Have you ever bred BI or BC boas? No, I haven't bred any boas. We got a super chat. Wow, thank you. Thank you, Adam. How are you feeling? I am feeling a little bit under the weather from that COVID shot. Still kind of crazy. I can definitely feel it now after 2 hours and 38 minutes on the live stream. Starting to feel like, oh, yeah. I don't know if I can go more than 3 hours in one go, but let me tell you, I'm definitely feeling better than I felt yesterday. Whew. I was really feeling bad yesterday. Heavy Metal Reptiles, thank you for your service. Yes. The best thing, the number one best thing about being in the military is the medical benefits. The medical is free lifetime medical, and everything is super cheap. So if I get like as a matter of fact, I actually went in for, I had some kind of like a heart palpitation or something in my heart. I was in the hospital for, I think it was like 4 or 5 days. And the bill from that was like in the hundreds of thousands of dollars being in the emergency room for that long. And I paid zero out of pocket, which was pretty amazing. The VA insurance is fantastic. And then for like prescriptions and stuff like that, you pay like $10 a bottle or pills or something like that. It's pretty much the best thing for life. You know, I would recommend going in the military just for the medical benefits, which is pretty crazy. All right, Gary Jackson. I always forget my lesser female is actually Het Clown as well. Giving your feedback, I may go with an inchy. Thanks for responding to all my questions. You're awesome. Chris, look forward to your next live. Yes, so I'll have another live stream tomorrow, same time, at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. It looks like we have about another 20 minutes on this live stream. Still 65 people on, which isn't too bad. Seems like we have more people on the live streams on Sundays versus Saturdays. But yeah, the algorithm doesn't really like me doing live streams on the same channel as I do on my other videos, which is kind of interesting. Someone was mentioning that before. All right, Doc Hig, what thermostats do you use on your ARS racks? So I actually use Herpstats. I have some Herpstat 4s. I have some VE 100s and some VE 300s. Pretty much a whole mix of a whole bunch of different thermostats that I have on my racks. And it's funny, a lot of people, you know, you're thinking about, all right, what thermostat do I use on my rack? And then usually what you do is you put your thermostat on the rack and then you forget about it pretty much forever. You don't even mess with the thermostat. You don't even remember what thermostat you put on there, you know, years and years ago. It's kind of interesting. At first you're kind of shopping for thermostats, and then once you put it on there, it doesn't really matter. James Frederick. Hey, Chris, I've been watching your channel for a long time, and I want to hear your opinion on crested geckos and other reptiles people breed. So yeah, so pretty much I only focus mainly on ball pythons. I don't really do, it seems like every time I kind of try to drift away from ball pythons and do something else, you know, people know I don't know what I'm really talking about because I don't know much about other reptiles unless I really studied up on it. So I pretty much just stay with ball pythons. I do have some crested geckos up in my bedroom. I've been breeding a couple up there just as kind of an experiment, just to kind of dabble in it. But I'm not really serious into crested geckos. Do you have any interest in any other type of reptiles? So yeah, I just have I have one Greek tortoise just as a pet, a couple crested geckos just as pets. Not really interested in like adding anything to my YouTube channel for like other types of reptiles or anything like that. At this point, if I get another reptile, it might be like a boa constrictor. That's probably the only other one I'd probably get into. I've always believed ball pythons are ideal because the genes stay pure and the amount of morphs. Yes, so you really can't beat ball pythons, especially if you're on the breeding side of things. All the different genes and the genes stay pure. Yes, I agree. At what point do I need to be concerned about my ball python not pooping? I've actually heard this quite a few times. Hey, my ball python hasn't gone to the bathroom for months. And let me tell you, you pretty much never have to worry about it. I've never heard of any health problem where a ball python won't go to the bathroom, and it's just pretty normal. But sometimes they just won't go to the bathroom for weeks or months at a time, which is pretty crazy. All right, doing pretty good. We got 45 minutes left, 68 people, 70 people on the live, 92 thumbs up. All right. Let's see. Running a farm, a YouTube channel, and doing a live stream on the weekends. Yep, that's my life right there in one sentence. That's what I do. I pretty much take care of the animals in the morning until about 1 o'clock, and then I sit down about 1 o'clock trying to figure out what I'm going to do for my video, and then usually I start recording usually in the late afternoon, and then process the video and upload and do the thumbnail and everything in the evening. So yeah, that's pretty much my life. Animals and YouTube with the live streams on the weekend. All right, snake pranks. When I got my first ball python from the zoo, it was super sweet and nice, but then it was bit by a live rat while feeding. Long story short. Let's see. Let's see. Do you know of any where I can get a small countertop glass door cooler to make an incubator out of? So I actually got my my cooler for my incubator from Craigslist, and I actually looked over on Craigslist, and I found someone who had bought a brand new beverage cooler with a bad compressor, which was pretty awesome because it was a brand new cooler, and I didn't really need the compressor or the cooling or anything. That would be ideal if you could find someone with like a brand new cooler that didn't work out of the box. Let's see. Dave Raymond 10. Hi, Chris. We are pairing our Mystic Pastel Yellow Belly with our large female normal. Pretty excited. How many times would you say you typically pair your breeders? So yeah, so if you have just two snakes, what I would actually do is I would put the male with a female for about 3 days, and then I would separate them and feed them, and then I would give them a break, and then maybe 2 weeks later, pair them up again, and just continue to pair them up twice a month for probably about 5 months is what I would actually do. Kind of keep cycling them through. All right, Scott Carlin. Hope you're having a great night. Can't wait to see what this season looks like for you. Yeah, I can't wait either. It's gonna be a pretty good season. I think I have at least a dozen females that are looking like they may lay eggs. I'm really excited about my albino het pied female. Looks like she may be building some eggs. Might get some visual albino pieds from that, which would be pretty awesome. Let's see. Do you think the bamboo ball pythons are as popular as spiders? They look similar but lack the wobbling. So I think the problem with the bamboos, because they're not as popular, the bamboos were really expensive for a really long time. And I think that is why they weren't really readily available and bred really as much as the spiders. But I think eventually the bamboos will be pretty close in popularity. It's kind of a double-edged sword because the bamboo, as far as a standalone morph, looks really impressive, similar to a spider. But if you look at some of the spider combinations, I think the spider has more potential to make some better-looking combinations when you work it with other genes, because you don't get the blue-eyed leucistics, and it seems like it works better with a lot of your other genes. Although the spider has potentially the head wobble, so it seems like in each gene there's pros and cons. But as far as like the standalone bamboos, I think they're one of the best standalone genes. All right, Dion. Hey Chris, big fan. Wanted to ask, should I focus on single gene animals or multiple genes for first time breeder for more variety? So yeah, so I would definitely go after as many genes as you can without going overboard. I'd say, you probably don't want to breed like a 5 gene animal to like a 6 gene animal because the identification of a lot of the offspring can get really confusing. But I'd probably go like, like a 2 gene animal to a 2 gene animal, something like that, where you can get a whole variety of offspring, and then you have not too many genes where you can still identify all the combinations. Let's see. Cole. Hey, Chris. Hope you're feeling well from the shot. Wondering if you'd be selling any snakes at the Pueblo shore or just browsing. So, yeah, so I won't actually bring any snakes to the Pueblo show. I'm just going to show up. I'm going to be driving my motorcycle, my Harley Davidson, down to that show, which would be my first big road trip on my motorcycle. I'll probably be like, the whole weekend, I'll probably be driving like 8 hours on that motorcycle. Quite a long time. I'll definitely be getting used to that motorcycle, driving it around. Let's see. How often do you clean the snake's enclosure? Once a week. So I'd say most breeders will actually go through their collection once a week and actually do a spot cleaning. But I found it seems like a lot of times the snakes will actually throw a lot of the coconut husk in the water dish. And a lot of times if you don't catch it early on, they'll have like a water completely covered in coconut husk where they actually can't take a drink. So what I prefer to do at least every 2 to 3 days, check on the snakes. As a matter of fact, this time of year when my females are getting ready to lay eggs, I actually go through every single tub every single day. And then once I start getting eggs, I usually go through twice a day. And it seems like the more you go through your snakes, the easier you can go through the next time. So for example, if I go through and spot clean all my snakes, and then, the next day I go through and spot clean again, I can just open every tub just for a second or two and check in there. And usually there's only like 1 or 2 that make a mess within a day. So it's not that hard to spot clean versus if you did like every 3 or 4 days and you're going through, you probably have like 10 or 15, maybe even more than that have a mess and you have to spend more time cleaning it up. All right. I love snakes. I've had them since 91, all different kinds. Nice. Yeah, it seemed like I was late in the snake game, which is kind of crazy. I felt like I kind of missed the beginning of the whole snake craze. All right, my eldest female is an albino spider. Should be my first breeder, but she doesn't at all live up to that spider reputation. No wobble, and she's my favorite snake. So yeah, so some spiders have absolutely no wobble, which is pretty awesome. I'd say most of the spiders that I've actually seen here in my collection pretty much have 0 wobble, or just a little bit, some of the ones that I produced. All right, had 2 beautiful red-tailed boas. Nice. What types of crested gecko morphs are your geckos? So I actually have a male and a female. My male is a super Dalmatian, which is pretty awesome. The super Dalmatians are pretty expensive. And then my female is a pinstripe. Beautiful pinstripe female. All right, Bobby. Bobby keeps trying to go behind my back in the back of the chair, and I'm afraid I'm going to lean back and crush his head behind my back. Come on out here. Come on out here. I don't want you back there. No, no, no. You don't need to be back behind my back and the chair. All right, Bobby. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Let's see. Thank you for all the information. A really big help. I've been watching since before 10,000 subscribers. Nice. It's been a while since I've had 10,000 subscribers. I just passed 44,000, which is pretty awesome. All right, Big Serpent. Hey, Chris, is it okay to leave frozen thawed mouse overnight for a picky eater? So I probably wouldn't leave it overnight. I would probably leave it maybe for maybe for a couple hours maximum. You don't really want that rodent to go bad, and then for the snake to eat it, that could be potentially problematic for the snake. So I'd probably just do a couple hours max on that for the frozen thawed in there. Thoughts on building a rack for tubs or just buy one? So if you're really handy, you could probably build a rack and save a lot of money, but I prefer just to buy like a professional rack. So these ARS racks behind me, if I was to actually sell these, I could probably recoup most of my money. As a matter of fact, I could probably recoup all my money from these ARS racks versus like a homemade. You probably could still recoup it, but I'd say there's probably a higher demand for like an ARS rack like the ones behind me. Swifty Slice G, love your vids. I'm going to hit the hay. See you later. Yeah, so we have about 7 minutes left on the live stream. 51 people left, 101 thumbs up. All right. Let's see. I loved when I was living in Florida. I had 6 snakes on the patio that was closed in. Just sit there craving all over the patio during all the time. Nice. That would be awesome. Living where somewhere you could just put your ball pythons or snakes in a place where you have the perfect temperature and humidity. Hey, have you tried growing fruits? I grow fig trees, which have many varieties, Morris, but we call them strains, and they all taste different with all kinds of berry flavors. So yeah, up here in the mountains of Colorado, our growing seasons are super, super short. So it's only a few months between winter and winter. It's almost too short to grow almost everything. As a matter of fact, I was trying to grow potatoes last year, and the potatoes grew up, and I had really nice big bushes for my potatoes, which really don't take that long to grow. And then we got hit by a really hard frost that killed all the potatoes. So you can't grow any kind of like corn or anything like that. So I don't know. The only thing you can really grow up here is like lettuce or cabbage or stuff like that has a really short growing season. You can do like peas or snap peas, but as far as anything else, it's really tough. I don't even know if you could grow it like an apple tree up here in the mountains. I think it might get too cold for that. Let's see. Jonathan Chandler. I've been late to the last few lives. So yeah, so I'll have another live stream tomorrow at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. What do you think the best snake for a beginner is? Sorry, it's not really a ball python question. So yeah, so I think ball pythons are the best snake for beginners mainly because they don't really move as much as like a corn snake or something like that. So if I had like a corn snake around my neck, there's no way that I could keep them here that long. And it seems like a lot of new people, when they're getting into snakes, they kind of get freaked out by a snake that moves around a lot. And a ball python doesn't really move that much usually. But Bobby is kind of getting squirmy today. I don't know what's going on with Bobby. Is like trying to go behind my back in the chair. I don't know what's going on. I think maybe he's been in front of the camera for a little bit too long tonight, which is kind of crazy. All right, let's see. All right, Nick O'Connor. Hey, Chris, are there any pitfalls with the Enchi like there are with the spider? I've been watching your videos for a couple of days now as I gear up for my first purchases for breeding. So no, there's really any pitfalls with the Enchi. Recently, they found out that the Enchi is allelic to black pastel. It's also allelic to cinnamon, and it's allelic to het red axanthic, and it's allelic to the Lori gene too, which is kind of interesting. So keep that in mind when you're working with the Enchi. But as far as any kind of defects or anything like that, nothing wrong at all with the Enchi. All right, thoughts on breeding yellow belly complex but sticking to supers? Yeah, that would be a good idea. Like breeding like a super asphalt to a super asphalt. That would be pretty awesome. Make a whole bunch of super asphalts, which are really expensive too. Can you show your crested geckos in a video? Yeah, maybe I will show my crested geckos in a video. As a matter of fact, I think I did, but it's been a long time since I showed them. And let me tell you, they have gotten really super huge. They're really big and fat and chunky now. It's kind of crazy. I'll have to do an update on my crested geckos. All right, let's see. Alexandria, and I have a spider GHI, and her wobble is usually absent, but I've noticed that when she stays on the cooler side for a long time, she'll corkscrew occasionally, which is kind of wild. So, yeah, I don't think anybody really knows what's going on with the spider wobble and what causes it and how to reduce it or what makes it worse. It's kind of interesting. What it looks like on this one, looks like when it gets cold, it might increase the frequency of the corkscrewing, which is kind of interesting. Bobby is so cute. He is. He is a cute snake. Let's see. I already answered that one. All right, Scorchers reptiles. So I'm just getting into reptile breeding as of right now to more of just breed for my friends and family, but eventually want to go professional. Nice. Are there any advice you have that can prevent a lot of mess ups, like the things that people have messed up on the first time? I actually have some videos on things that you shouldn't do. I have one video called "Don't Do This" or something like that, or like rookie. I have one called "Rookie Mistakes." You can actually look at that video and kind of go through all the different rookie mistakes in ball pythons. Gary Jackson, hope to meet you in person one day. You've definitely helped me through my beginner stage. Nice. Yes. So let's see. Thanks for your cowboy tricks, breaking into trucks. Yeah, I did that one. How to open a locked truck, how to unlock a locked truck in 30 seconds, the old cowboy trick. High class pythons, what's up? My breeding season's going good. I got a bunch of really fat females and no eggs yet. They should drop any day. If breeding during the season and your female hasn't gone, when do you stop breeding? I stopped breeding after 5 months, which for me is the middle of March. I pretty much stopped pairing up. Answer my question, please. I think I've answered all the questions. You know, which is weird is because I've actually had this on almost every single live stream. People are like, can you please answer my question? I've asked it 6 times and I answer every single question. I think some questions just don't go through and they don't show up in the chat. I don't know if it's certain keywords or something that get kind of blocked or screened out. I don't know. But I think I pretty much answered every single question, going down one at a time here. Have you owned any turtles? Right now, I just own a Greek tortoise, just one Greek tortoise. Technically, not a turtle because turtles would be in the water, and this is like a land tortoise. So no, I haven't owned any turtles. My first one was a baby ball python, named him Ozzy. Let's see. All right. Yeah, so Scott's thoughts, yeah. All right, so I'm just going to kind of screen through these because we're pretty much at the end of the live stream. So yeah, if you watched one of my old videos and I showed a bamboo, it was definitely Bobby. Let's see. Thanks for the great lives. What is a black pastel? Black pastel is just a single codominant gene. You can't really make it. It's just one gene. How much would an average ball python cost? Anywhere from $20 to $10,000. So yeah. What size of glass enclosure would you recommend? I don't like glass enclosures. I'd rather do tubs. What is your opinion on cocoa fiber? The cocoa fiber doesn't really absorb moisture or eliminate the smells as well as the coconut husk chip. Did you make a new morph before? No. I have one dinker project that I'm breeding. I'm not sure if it's a new gene or not. Still working on that one. The jury's still out if it's a new gene. Can you kiss Bobby for me? I don't actually kiss my snakes. I don't want to promote, potentially the salmonella debate. Let's see. All right, so that's pretty much it. We hit the end of the comments. Hope you're feeling better. Yes, thank you. Feeling a little bit under the weather still. Feeling a little bit better than when I started in the live stream. It seems like I'm slowly getting better from this COVID vaccine shot that I took about 7 days ago. So that's pretty good. We still have 57 people on, 102 thumbs up, and we're at 3 hours and 3 minutes on the live stream. So I'm going to wrap it up here. Thanks for all the comments. Thanks for all the super chats. And if you want to join me tomorrow, I'll be doing another live stream at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, where I'll try to get everybody's questions. I'll go down the list from top to bottom. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video.